All right, welcome back to the podcast. We have another amazing guest on today. Actually, just have an amazing guest on today. Good friend of mine. He's an Army Ranger, filmmaker, author, owner of Four Hawk Media, Luke Ryan.
Yes. Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Also Purple Heart recipient.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Didn't lie about it. Not like Tim Kennedy. Right, Luke?
No comment.
It's going to be all very relative. People are just going to chuckle. Like, that's a good joke. Tim Kennedy. What's going on, bro?
Not much. Yeah. Just finished watching a great interview.
Yeah. Which one?
Yeah. Yeah. Last episode was my father. So
that was awesome.
It was cool.
It was great.
Yeah, it was good to listen to.
I'm glad we got
to watch
do that.
from the sidelines.
As he was, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like as we turned on his, like, oh, there we go, doing references. Yeah, man. What's we'll start with your origin story, and
Sure.
just like Batman, Superman.
Yeah.
Where'd you come from? Where did you have an incredibly interesting childhood, especially growing up in Pakistan, and all your history going into the Rangers, stuff like that. So
yeah, it's definitely unique. So if you listen to the last episode with my dad talking, you knew that when I was a kid, so I was 3 when this happened, but we moved over to Pakistan. And yeah, my earliest memories are probably in the language school period. I have a couple like real distant faded memories, like being knocked over by a goat or just playing some sort of video game. I can't remember. Maybe, I don't know.
You were a 90s kid, right? When were you born?
89.
89. Okay, so you're only 2 years younger.
So,
okay.
So, basically a 90s kid.
Basically 90s kid. Okay, because it's like funny sometimes, like, and I was like, yeah, you had the sweet era of like Nintendos and Genesis.
Sort of. I mean, growing up in Pakistan, we had not really those things.
Yeah.
We didn't really we had the local movie store owner he had a Sega, he had a PlayStation 2. So
really?
Yeah, so he would get the stuff and we would borrow some stuff from him. But
he's a movie store owner?
So he was a movie store owner, and my dad, this was up in Gilgit, up in like northern central Pakistan, and my dad would get meat from Islamabad. Like we would fly internationally for whatever reason, and then we'd get meat in the just the nicer meat markets in Islamabad, and then drive it up to 12, 13 hours up the KKH, Karakoram Highway, up to Gilgit, and we'd have 2 coolers. I think the deal was, if I remember this drug deal and how it worked, I'm looking at my dad over there. And he would give one of them to this guy, Amin, the movie store owner. And, we would keep the other one for ourselves. And, so in return, we got free movies from that movie store owner.
That's awesome.
So basically, I would just walk up to his movie store. It was like kind of up the block and around the corner. And I would just walk up there and take what I wanted, and he'd be like, "Cool, bring him back."
Competing with the local Blockbuster there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
The franchise next door.
He was it. Yeah. He was all of the above.
That was awesome,
and he was cool.
Is that like? Was that like I said? What was what was it like growing up as a kid in Pakistan? Now you kind of that's all you knew then. So you weren't like, man, back in the States, and then we moved to Pakistan.
Yeah, no.
So all you knew was that life. So, referencing like, man, growing up in the streets of Brooklyn and riding around playing baseball in the streets, like that wasn't like...
I definitely have random culture gaps. Even now, still I have random culture gaps that you might not know. Like I haven't seen really any 90s TV shows. I've seen all the movies because of that guy, but we had like MacGyver on VHS, like 1 or 2 VHS tapes of random Star Trek episodes, and then... Yeah, like a couple other TV shows. I don't even know. Yeah, not much.
Were they also pirated? Were they on like the...
No, the TV shows were recorded by friends back home that would send them to us. And we would get MacGyver mainly. We would be really excited about that one.
Okay.
But yeah, that was pretty much it. They were just kind of... The stuff that we'd get from the movie store owner, almost always pirated. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Definitely, yeah. But, and some things, like I didn't really go to a movie until I was pretty old. I can't remember how, like in the theaters, I mean.
Yeah.
We went to one in Islamabad, and I think it was like a James Bond movie, or it was the Titanic or something. It was like the only English movie that had played there in forever, as far as I remember, and people don't really have the same theater etiquette or whatever, especially at that time. So everybody's using laser pointers and hollering around and stuff, and just being an overall just in general gimmick about American movies in this playing in this random place. So,
that's awesome.
It was fun. It was cool.
I don't know what the etiquette for Pakistani moviegoers is, so that's
I think it got better immediately. I mean, nobody really wants to watch movies like that. But,
yeah. So you're saying you didn't know like
Novelty
Saved
of
by
the
the
first
Bell
time.
or Home Improvement?
No,
or
exactly.
all
That
those
stuff,
films?
like none of that. None of that.
Yeah.
Rugrats, like any of the cartoons as well. Like,
Well, I didn't have
none of that
cable.
really.
I just had basic cable. So like I didn't,
so
I didn't grow up
also
with like my
deficient
wife
then.
grew up with like Disney Channel and shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't have. You know, I knew of them like South Park. I was like, oh, South Park are cool.
I did hear about South Park because we did have, Western adults around that would watch South Park, but I wasn't really allowed to watch it. So.
You weren't allowed to watch it.
South Park, yeah, I get it.
Well, it's funny because I got my cultural difference. I got cable when I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
So I came into school the next day. I was like, dude, did you watch South Park last night? They're like, we've been watching it for the last 6 years. Yeah. What's the big deal? And I'm like, but I got to watch it for the first time, or like consistently or whatever. But
I don't think I discovered South Park really until high school.
Yeah.
Which is Team America as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So growing up and, obviously films, we can get into that as well because I'm sure that's going to be an influence on you.
Well, that's how I started getting into them.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
living out, remotely like that in the middle of nowhere in Pakistan. And we had a pretty American household, I'd say. I mean, just kind of regular stuff going on in there, nothing too crazy. And then, the world in which we lived was a lot different. And I'd say that mostly just benefited me for the most part. And the people there are just kind of like anywhere else. I mean, you ask them about something like American politics and something like that, and they're just, I don't care.
Yeah.
They're just kind of just worried about whatever it is that they're worried about that day.
So it was like growing up, did you do a lot of hiking? Did you do like, like you guys are in the mountains?
We would just kind of run around. Yeah, we would like play imaginary games. Like I was hanging out with a lot of my, a lot of American, Canadian, whatever friends. There's a Canadian family that I was super close to. And they had a bunch of brothers, and we would always play whatever imagination games, fight armies, and make up these big elaborate stories that we would all participate in and stuff. And we'd do that a lot, or like run around. I mean, we'd run around all the neighborhoods there, and scurry over the mountains and stuff. It's little.
That's awesome.
So call them around, I guess.
What was your films that you were watching, and what was your favorite growing up then? Did you get Con Air catch your eye? Did Face Off catch your eye? Like what did, I wouldn't say diverse.
Independence Day would have been one of those probably.
Okay, that's cool. So was mine. That's I think it's a big one for everybody in the 90s.
Yeah, that was a good one. Let's see. We watched Iron Will was one that I watched a lot.
That's a good one.
The Lion King was my favorite growing up when I was little. I watched that like a bazillion times.
Dude, it's a banger. We watched it with family.
Yeah. Still good.
The
Still
opening,
holds up.
the cold open
great.
is like the song, and then like the beat drop.
Oh, it's so good.
And it's like the title. You're like, it's phenomenal. Like,
holds up.
I did. Me and my wife watching it with the first time, like probably a few months ago, like 6 months ago, and Finley was watching. I was like, holy shit, that's good. At like 38, I'm like, that was a banger. That was awesome. That opening is amazing. Yeah. No, I did
a lot of those movies are like that. Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Still slaps.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's great.
That's good.
So there's you said you did have some computer. I mean, you were playing like PlayStation 2. What kind of games did you have? Or so you have exposure to it, Like,
So we had like exposure to random shotguns of American culture. So we played like Taken, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It's like Mario Kart type games too. I feel like a lot of Star Wars games. Shadow of the Empire was a good one.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was a great game.
Nintendo 6. So you had access to Nintendo 64 then?
Yeah. I mean, the movie store guy had access to it.
Yeah.
That's via him.
Yeah. It's always fun to talk about that because like you like said, we were talking about getting deep into a culture, So like anything outside the United States, like, do you know what water is? I
got asked when we came back for some periods, and I would come to school in the U.S. and kids would ask me kind of insane questions, and I mean, you can't really blame them. They're like also second graders or also seventh graders or whatever, but they'd be like, I thought you guys only ate like pig's guts over there. That was a question. Not really a question, I guess, more of a statement, but it's just like, I mean, how do you even the first thing I thought was like, if you ate pig's guts, like, why would you not eat the rest of the pig as well? It's like, isn't it there? Is that like the place where that's all they have? And just like riding elephants to school, stuff like that. But, just kind of ridiculous notions from people who, why would they know anything else? They're just kids. But
especially as kids,
funny.
Yeah.
Kind of also being a kid, it's just kind of a little bit kind of confusing and ridiculous. You're like, huh? What? Why are you asking me this?
I know, right?
No.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. So then, like I said, so how often would you guys come back to the States then? Like,
in the early years, we would come back every 2 years.
For how long? Or you said it was during the school year, or like
it would be
summertime, or
a lot of times in the winter and sometimes in the summer.
Okay.
But I don't really remember why exactly the difference. But yeah, it'd be like for a couple months, and then sometimes we would go somewhere for like a couple weeks on the opposite, the winter or the summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we'd come back. So at the beginning it was every 2 years, and then after a while we started coming back every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that like, how was that time zone change as like a kid, like that?
I mean, you
10
just
hours
get
or whatever?
so we were usually like basically on the exact opposite side, and from when we moved to Pakistan to Thailand later, that didn't really change all that much. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. You just kind of it's weirder to me to go a little off, to go like halfway around is really weird to me, because then I really get thrown off. Yeah. If you're the exact opposite, you just kind of have to go all the way back around.
Yeah.
But you know,
yeah.
So that's easier for me to wrap my head around.
So like I said, growing up, I mean, like you did 13 years. So you were, when you officially left, you were 15, 16 then?
No, I didn't. I was there for about 10 years.
10 years.
So
okay.
Yeah.
So you're about 12, 13 or so.
Yeah. I was in 8th grade in the attack on my school.
Yeah. And then you said most of it like Canadian, American,
British
expats.
Yeah, Australians.
Yeah. And how big was that school, or like that you went to? I mean, how many kids were in the school?
Well, so the school that I was mostly at, which was just like our little community school up in northern Pakistan in Gilgit, that was, I don't know, like 8 kids.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that's just like a couple volunteers and a couple parents kind of learning the curriculums and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was in the other school, which was a school down near Islamabad, that one was, I don't really remember. It's probably like, I don't know, a few hundred.
Oh, a few hundred. Okay.
That was more people like coming from all over the country. Mm-hmm. And it was a British school, but they had Americans, Pakistanis, like a whole bunch of different types of people there. Yeah.
That's awesome. So did you feel like,
cool.
I mean, like I said, you don't have the reference of like America. So it's like, it's almost like you can kind of compare, but can't. Really,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like if I ask you a question, you're like, I don't fucking know.
I understand American culture super well. I mean, I was definitely paying attention, not really on purpose. Just I loved movies so much. I was just watching them all the time. So there's a lot that's just charged with all this American culture that I was kind of accidentally fixated on. But
when are you exposed to pizza?
As soon as I could get it, really. I don't know. In the early days,
because that was like a big deal for us. It was like we did Friday nights. We'd go to Blockbuster, and then we'd go like pick out 2
My
movies.
mom would home make pizza.
Yeah.
And
then you're like, pizza Friday night from Little Caesars. And then, scarf down pizza, watch the movie. Go to bed. Yeah.
No, and we'd come back, and I mean, I'm watching movies, and also like a lot of your friends are going back and forth on different schedules, so they all are kind of talking about the same stuff, and they're you're spending 2 months, 3 months, and my family didn't really do this, but some families will go back for like a big long year or so, and just everybody's always talking, and then you go back and you're experiencing that yourself for a couple months. It kind of puts a mythos on it too a little bit, I think, and so it definitely sticks in your head. So kind of feels like I didn't miss out on a lot of stuff, but when people start talking things like specific TV shows or other things, then I don't know anything. Sports.
So it sounds awesome, but what was the least favorite about doing that? If you have like even a reference to that, it's like.
Just, terrorist attacks on schools.
That's a big one.
Not great. Yeah. Probably that'd be up there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question.
Like, did you guys have like grade school dances?
I would say, really, so I wouldn't really change this exactly, But I really envy people sometimes. I definitely wouldn't change it, but I do envy people that have like real roots in a place, that they really have like their family came from there, their parents, their grandparents, their great grandparents. And I kind of like being a nomad a little bit more than that, but only a little bit. So I would say that I still definitely appreciate that. You know, my wife comes from a place that's, you know, she has a lot of family there, and she grew up there just herself. You know, she knows all the streets. It's more than just a knowledge of the people who are there. It's kind of its roots. It's these emotional connections to a place that you develop over time. And you know, I kind of grew up in the wind a little bit, and I think that's pretty cool. You know, I don't really want it enough to stay in one place for too long, but I do appreciate it.
Now, on the flip side, what do you think it was your favorite part? Like you as a kid, like looking back, you're like, oh, that's awesome. But like you as a kid growing up, what was you're like, man, that's awesome. I'm glad I did that as a kid.
Just like, I'd say being a part of the adventure that my family was on, rather than just watching it from far away. I think that was the coolest part, because it's not really, when you're a kid, I mean, I remember we were in the northern Himalayas, and the mountains are just so big over there. And I didn't really even care about that. I didn't think about it. I didn't really understand anything about that. But when I started to go to the U.S. every other year and go to drive around in places like Kansas, and, you know, we would fly into Arkansas and then go in the Ozarks, and the mountains are kind of just hills there. And then we get into Kansas, and it's, you know, I thought it was beautiful because I'd be like, there's so much sky here. I've never seen this much sky before. But I don't know. It just kind of, when you see more things that are different from what you normally see, and you do it with your family, and you kind of go to all these different places, and I wasn't really helping with the mission. You know, I wasn't operating on eyes or supporting the hospital or anything like that. But you know, you're part of the family, and you're a kid, and you're doing your best at being a kid, and it's just cool to be a part of that and to be there with them, and to kind of suffer some of the lack of things with them, you know, like electricity being around in the early days, every third day, or hot water being super scarce, things like that. Like, kids are fine. Kids are resilient, but to be on that adventure with your family is a big deal, I think, and it matters a lot, and I think it teaches you a lot about what family can be, and what you know, whether it's your actual relatives or not.
So what? It's obviously a big story, but what led up to the terrorist attack at your school? Well,
yeah. So it was a British boarding school, not really all as insane as that sounds. It's not, it's no uniforms or anything like that. It was just a boarding school that was British. But you know, so we were going there because the education there is just, if you really want to have a chance at a higher education back in, you know, wherever your family's country is from, you kind of have to have a higher standard of education as you get along into high school, especially into these higher grades, especially when it comes to places in really rural Pakistan where you don't really have those options. So I was at this school for not really very long, and my mom was just constantly coming over there because, you know, she missed me and my brother. So we were there. I was there for about a year, and I had done like these kind of onboarding programs that help ease you into that kind of thing before that. But I was there for 7th grade, or most of 7th grade. We came back to the U.S. for a stint after 9/11, and then came back for 8th grade, and then that was 2002, August 5th, and that was the date, the attack on my school. That was the second Monday of 8th grade. Yeah. So I was up in the library in a study hall, which is I don't know, not that it matters, but in British schools, at least back then, or international schools anyway, everybody has study halls. It's kind of a thing. And I was just hanging out in the library, and it was one of the seniors' birthdays, so the first assumption was that it was fireworks and somebody was doing some shenanigans. And then just a whole bunch of things happened that were just kind of crazy, like the being stuck in traffic. There was actually a time zone issue as well because of daylight savings time, or not a time zone issue, but a daylight savings time issue that changed the time of their attack was off from when the recess was that they were supposed to hit. So a bunch of very pretty wild coincidences like that there are no coincidences kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know like what the backstory was then to like why they were hitting or why they were going to hit the school, or what kind of?
Honestly, not really. Yeah. There was it's a little bit like one of those missions that there's all this contextual stuff that you don't really care about because you know a lot about the middle part of it, but yeah, I mean, there was a note left on there that was something about like the U.S.'s deal with Israel and Palestine, something to do with that. But basically everything changed when the Taliban came over the border from Afghanistan, and because the invasion happened, the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, and then all the Taliban came over, and that kind of shook everything up. So.
Yeah, throw it right.
A result of that.
Yeah. So then, what happened after that? Then, did you guys stick around? Do you guys?
So yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy. Like within weeks, I mean, you have a whole boarding school of kids, and within weeks, you have another school in another country that's like, come here. We have a building. We'll help you get every child of random parents that may or may not be with them, dependents. Like. We'll help you get visas for them here so they can all stay together because they really wanted to stay as like a group, which was really important. And it was a good thing. And they just pulled that off somehow, and they just kind of like yeeted our school over to Chiang Mai, Thailand. And we had like, we were kind of like attached to this big church building, and our classrooms were there. And then, a bunch of the families just came with, of course, the ones that could. And just started living there too. So there's a whole like half of the school that the parents had come to and gotten houses there and just rented whatever house there. And so we were one of those. And my dad was going back and forth, and but yeah. And we had this whole building to ourselves for a whole year. Basically, it was like that school just kind of plopped in this random new place because of this huge event in a whole new country. It was just kind of pretty big change, pretty fast, but it was really cool. And I think doing it together was really made a big difference. And yeah.
So you've been growing up like that, like, I guess maybe because I'm doing this with my own kids, you're a kid, but your family's going back and forth and stuff like that. How did you deal with that as like a, adolescent, dad's going a few months here in Thailand, or coming back and forth, your mom's going, you know what I mean? Like, how like
my mom was basically always there.
Yeah.
So I would say that really was never. I mean, there's parts of that, going in boarding school for a little bit and other parts, but for the most part, she was always there. And then my dad was when he would be, and I'd rather do this without him in the room, but since he's over here, it's gonna sound like I'm just complimenting him because he's over there. But yeah, I begrudgingly say this to your face. Just very present, I think, and connective. And that's something that is, a lot of people, I mean, I'm not a dad, but a lot of people just don't even, they talk to each other. They kind of just talk at each other, and they're constantly talking at each other. And if you have a really connective, present kind of shared moment with somebody, and that certainly happens in a firefight, right? Yeah. Like definitely happens then. And it doesn't matter if the situation is good or bad or not, but like that's really important. And I think, having that in spades with my dad was a lot better than having some guy who's just kind of worn down by the American medical system, which he probably wouldn't have been able to handle for decades of his life. Mm-hmm. Probably could, but
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's scary because, like I said, I'm going with like my daughter now. It's like, and then I've talked with other guys, the operators or guys that deployed. We've been around guys that deployed a ton.
Yeah.
And it's like being present. Like you can be home, but be present. You know, it's like,
you gotta be there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, which gets guys, I think, in trouble. They're like, well, I'm here. It's like, that's not, you're not here.
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, and a good litmus test is like, do you as a person yourself, do you like what you're doing right now? Right? Like, you're doing something with your kid. Is it, you know, my dad would do stuff that he also liked to do, you know, and if we're like, hey, let's do this, and he doesn't want to do it, you know, sometimes he would, depending on, you know, you get younger, but as you get older, you kind of just figure out what you both like, and you're like, hey, you want to play video games? And, you know, dad likes playing video games. All right, let's go play. We played all sorts of stuff. Battlefield 1 was a big one that we played a lot.
What?
Yeah.
Which Battlefield?
That was when we had like our own little internal house LAN setup that we could kind of get going. Yeah.
Shoot, that's awesome.
That was kind of in the Thailand days, I think, mostly.
Okay.
That was Battlefield. No, it was 1942 was the first one.
Okay, 40. Okay.
That was the first one, right?
Well, maybe,
Battlefield
yeah. I remember playing something like that in high school, my junior year.
It's the World War II one.
Yeah, but we landed. We had like a nerd build your own computer thing.
It wasn't. Battlefield 1 was a way newer one. It was 1942 because then eventually
like
there was
Battlefield
2142.
1942. Yeah, and it was like
that was the first capture the flag kind of strategy one.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I remember we did the LAN network in high school. I was like, oh my god, it was so cool. It was a fun week. We built the computers and then we all like everybody hop on because we were always like in our rows.
Yeah,
it's the only time I ever like totally got into that. I did online gaming too, but not, you know, never the like LAN setups.
We never had the internet to do like online stuff, even when I was in high school. But growing up, we would do a lot of PC stuff. Well, and I had a Game Boy Color. I did have that, so I played Pokemon Red to death, and the Pod Racer game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you wanted it, never got it. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Never got my Game Boy Color.
My brother lost his because he put it in the front airline seat pocket. And didn't get it again. Oh man, I don't know if I've ever felt so bad for anyone in my life.
That's crushing, especially as a kid growing up.
Yeah,
that sucks.
No,
So that's what's curious. You know, that's awesome. So you get to like Thailand. What was that transition like? And then, you know, what was life like going from Pakistan in the mountains to jungles?
I kind of lucked out because, you know, being a kid in Pakistan, especially a boy, you know, it's I guess it's probably similar for boys and girls at a really young age, but definitely for a boy, it's fine. You know, it's just kind of running around being more or less oblivious to a lot of stuff. I mean, I just kind of, like I said, scurry around the mountains like a little feral kid and, you know, learn some stuff. It was cool. Yeah. It was pretty easy for me. And then I got to transition in a time when, you know, I was also turning into a teenager, which maybe wouldn't have been as good of a time for me in Pakistan, but Thailand was great too. You know, I wasn't that crazy of a kid, but you know, my friends and I would rent motorcycles in Thailand and drive all over northern Thailand, and that was really cool. And
that sounds awesome.
The freedom to actually go out of my town, I think, would have been a lot harder in Pakistan. Things like that, I don't think I could have done that nearly as freely as I did in Thailand. So just kind of lucking out there, and also getting into a bigger school at that point. You know, just more American kids, more English speaking kids, because I was never very good at Urdu and never very good at Thai. So
Salam alaikum.
Yeah.
That's probably not even Urdu. Yeah. So what was okay? So then, like, did you play sports in high school? Like, it's always fun talking, like, when you're you're growing up in Thailand, but you're going to kind of an American or Western school. You know, what's it like? Like, you guys have basketball teams, you guys, you know, like, you know, stuff growing up. Do you have high school dances? Do you have homecoming? You know, like, are these cultural references? You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't know cultural references. In
Thailand, I went to Chiang Mai International School, which was pretty much just an American school plopped in Thailand with other literal rival schools, like a couple of them in the same town that are the same thing. And some of them would be more missionary heavy, and some would be more kind of in the middle, and some would be, you know, different groups of people. But I mean, it was so a lot of the same. You know, we'd have socials and prom and all that stuff. You know, it's kind of condensed. Like, my class would be 30 kids, and there was an A and a B, so 60 kids, I guess. I think it was smaller when we graduated. I think we graduated with like 30 kids or something. I can't remember, but it's something around there. It was something around there.
Yeah.
So
I did
not
too.
that many.
I had like 48 when I
Yeah.
graduated.
So it's like a regular kind of, Midwest high school size, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's in a huge city. It's in the second biggest city in Thailand. I think it's the second biggest. Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, that's nuts though. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, it's like, I think of like growing up in high school, but it's like, be like, oh, I'm in Thailand in like this massive city. You know what I mean? And like, you'd be able to like bum around on scooters and stuff like that.
But you're in high school, so like the stuff you're concerned about actually is the same,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the girl you like and like the thing that you're super excited about, your hobby or your guitar that you're playing or whatever it is. So it's like, if you get onto a sangtao or a tuk-tuk to go to school, or you get on a school bus to go to school, you're just going to school. It feels the same, so it's just different, just looks different, I guess. And I don't know. I never really I rode school buses a couple times when we did some short trips back to the US, but never really did that.
Nothing wild.
So, riding a sangtao to school, which is in Thailand, they'd have the red trucks with like the two benches that are parallel to each other in the back. And that was what we rode to school all the time. Yeah.
So do you have like a fond memory, like a high school memory? You're like, yeah, I kicked ass at this, or I got a A on this paper. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like just
driving around northern Thailand with my friends on our motorcycles. I mean, I was like not that great at school. I was okay, I'd say. I would always do really good at English, anything that required a lot of writing. But just whatever at school. I think my brain needed to develop a little bit. I benefited a lot from going to college after the Army. 'Cause I need a little more time, and then it was great. I really just like, not even our excursions around northern Thailand, but like just driving around Chiang Mai, just, exploring the city. I mean, we explored every corner of that city living there for 5 years. Just motorcycles, total freedom, kind of go to every little corner that we haven't been to just for the sake of going to it and checking it out, and discover all sorts of stuff. Getting into all sorts of trouble, getting away with all sorts of stuff. We used to try to sneak up onto the rooftops of hotels and just hang out up there. So
they have like pools and shit and all that stuff.
Some of them, but we would always try to go to the ones that didn't have anything on there, so we could hang out there for like hours.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be the top of some hotel that it's more like find the service entrance and see if you can climb up the ladder without anybody seeing you, kind of stuff.
Nice. That's dope.
So,
that sounds pretty sweet. Or overlook the city and all that stuff. And yeah. So what got you moving in the direction of like Army Ranger?
Yeah, I always kind of wanted to get into creating, filmmaking, stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to do some young man stuff while I was still young, and definitely had a sort of thirst for adventure. And I was thinking about becoming a firefighter a lot, and I actually went through fire academy and all that stuff, and just wasn't quite the mark, I think. And I started really thinking about my own life, and I grew up knowing who the Taliban were, growing up in Pakistan, and I grew up meeting these refugees that my parents would meet, and they would help just because they became friends, get them, visas to Canada, Norway, the US, wherever, all these different places. And I know all these people, and they had suffered at the hands of the Taliban quite a bit. And I was never on some lifelong vendetta to, go get everyone. But, I knew who they were, and my country was at war with them. And I finished high school 2 years ago because I did a couple years of college, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're still at war with them. This thing isn't ending. So yeah, I wanted to also just be a part of fighting that force. And, I've lived in a lot of places, and I know a lot of good people, mostly good people that live in those places. But as far as the structural institutions that go, the U.S. has a lot of things that I appreciate that you take for granted in other places, like freedom of speech, being able to say what you want, even on social media, and you don't necessarily get, nobody's going to actually kick down your door and throw you in jail just because you say you do or don't like the president. That's just not going to happen. Literally in second world countries, other countries in the world, that's not the case. So, just appreciating the values of the country that my family comes from and wanting to be part of a group that upholds that, I think was another part of it. And I just wanted to do cool stuff too, right? Like I wanted to be, I wanted to be an Army Ranger and fly around in helicopters as well.
Nice.
I wouldn't have articulated it that way, but that was definitely a part of it.
So what years was that then that you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this?
I kind of decided in 2009.
Okay. Yeah. But it's going hot, going strong.
Yeah. And just the whole process took a while. The whole process before I could get in took me 9 months or 10 months or something.
Is it because you lived overseas so much, or was it
just
in generalities?
That was a problem for my clearance, but it turned out to be fine. I think they got some guy who was literally from some area that was he had some problematic history with, I don't know, Israel, something that was way more difficult than me. So I think I heard through the grapevine that maybe that made it faster, but I don't know if that's true. But anyway, no. So mainly it was just because they didn't have a lot of RASP slots open. So but I was the 6th RASP class by the time I went through there. So that was a brand new course because they had just transferred from RIP to RASP. Okay, which was taking the Ranger selection course from 1 month to 2 months, and everybody can have their own special argument about what's harder and and why or whatever. But basically, you're taking the selection phase and you're really just tacking on another month of technical training.
Yeah, and how did you decide on Ranger? You're like, because this was 2009, so you could, because did you go in 2010 then, or did you go in 2009?
I went in 2009, didn't get out until January 5th, 2010. So
okay.
Right at the beginning of 2010.
Right at the beginning. Okay, yeah. So I was to say, did you see any other options? Did you were like, Marines?
Oh yeah. Well, every child who has grown up on movies, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. Yeah. So, but yeah, I had through friends of my dad, I talked to this guy, Dave Eubanks, who was working with the Free Burma Rangers, and he was like, you should be a Ranger instead. And I was looking at the Navy contract and the Army contract, and one's I didn't know about quitting. I was like, I'm not going to quit, but I don't know if I'm going to break my femur or something. Then I don't know how hard this thing is. I have no idea. And then they're like, well, you could, in the Navy, they're like, you could be literally anything besides this. And the Army was like, well, you could still be potentially, you'll already be a paratrooper, so you could still be in the 101st Airborne or something cool like that. And that seemed like a better option. Yeah. So that was a part of it.
So but
mainly a respected person that I knew, who was also a Green Beret and a Ranger, and he was like, you should go to Ranger Battalion.
Nice. That's a good knowledge base, Green Beret Ranger or Ranger Green Beret, how you want to say it. Advising you. I had no one.
He was an officer too, and the Ranger officer track versus where you have to go to the Army, and then you go to Battalion, you have to go back to the Army, and then you can go back to Battalion. That sucks. Yeah. So I'd imagine if you're an officer and you have that experience, and then you're a Green Beret officer, and they're like, hey, stay here. Yeah. Then it's probably sways his opinion a little bit.
Yeah. So that was pretty sweet then. So then you go in. Were you excited to do that? You're like, this is it. I'm going to get something. And you were older too. So you would have been.
I was 20.
20. Yeah. But dude, you're an old man. You're an old man.
Comparatively, sort of. Yeah. Actually, though, in my RASP class, I really wasn't. I was one of the youngest ones still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Most of there was a couple. There was probably. I don't know when we started. We started with around high 70s, around 80, and we winded up with, I think it was 29 of us, 27, somewhere around there. But the graduating class, there was 3 guys younger than me. I was surprised because in basic training it was not that way. I was kind of middle of the road probably, but yeah.
We had a guy that was 27, and we're all like, "What'd you do with your life?"
Yeah.
What decisions led you here 9 years after you graduated high school?
Yeah.
But so then you go to RASP. How was RASP then? Those 2 months?
Yeah. I was super cute. Yeah. No, it was. I wasn't really that guy that was like, basic training was freaking easy. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I just kind of took things as they come, and I was like, you know, try to be a Boy Scout about pretty much everything. And I just took that with RASP as well, which actually probably helped me. It kind of was, things were maybe a little harder than they needed to be. In basic, I'm just kind of like, I have no context for anything. And I'm sort of like, I'm thinking this is not feeling like very difficult. And I don't really know how to wrap my head around that exactly, but getting to RASP, things started really clicking, I think, a bit more consciously, being like, oh, I can really push the limits of myself here. And, you know, I was really good at the endurance stuff, but, you know, I'm a lot skinnier now than I was then, but I'm still not really a super jacked dude. So, you know, I'm always just having to keep up with my strength pretty much. But that's good. You know, it's good for you. Just kind of work on the things you're not as good at and be better at them, and do the thing that you have to do at the end. And I learned a lot from that. And I think forcing myself to go into the positions where I have to learn like that has been really beneficial. And RASP, I think, put me in that position. Super, super grateful for that. And yeah.
Do you have any difficult parts of RASP that were like stood out to you?
I mean, I always sucked at like holding stuff over my head, because I think my shoulders, like I could do a lot of pull-ups, but holding stuff over my head, I sucked at that. So when we just get smoked all day and all night, you know, like just that would be always the one that I would think about and yeah, not be super stoked about. Yeah, oh man.
Did you fuck anything up?
I
or
almost
see other people do it, like, or other people's demise. That's always fun.
Yeah. We did have, so in Coal Range is kind of like the culminating event in RASP, and we did have one cadre who had a hamster named Bamf, and basically his whole philosophy that was that when Bamf isn't happy, he's not happy. And so he would just wreck everybody when his hamster Bamf was unhappy. Yeah. I did actually have one time when there was like cadre outhouses. There was 2 of them, and there was like several other outhouses, porta potties, excuse me. There's like a whole bunch of porta potties, and there's the cadre porta potties, and then all the student ones. And I like ran off into one of the student ones and came out, and one of the cadre like confronted me, and he was one of the more chill ones, which is like, you know, chill. It's like a low bar. Like none of them are being very chill because it's RASP, but you know, he was like visibly a little bit more intense than usual, and he kind of like comes up to me, really pissed off, and he was just talking about how somebody apparently saw some redhead, so obviously it has to be me, use one of the cadre's porta potties, and I immediately was like, no, you know, like I didn't, and he was like talking about how he was going to drop me, and I just remember thinking like I had like just a moment of individualism when I'm trying to like always follow all these rules and be like, look, man, if you're going to drop me over that and I didn't do it, then just fucking drop me. Like, just do it. And I could tell that having that thought process and kind of becoming an adult there for a second and like communicating that, he just sort of saw that and he was like, oh, he didn't do it. He's telling the truth. And he just kind of ran off. So yeah, I don't know. It was a little bit of a growing up moment, I think. You know, when you're, especially in a place like that, always kind of, you know, following everything to a T, retaining your individualism, I think, is something that makes a lot of soft places really unique, is because you have to have that ability in order to survive that stuff mentally. And I mean, everybody reacts to that stuff totally differently, but I just, you know, you get a lot more diversity of people there, because I think you get that in the Army, but they retain that better as they go through those difficult things, because they have a strength of character that can endure those things. So if you have, you know, you just get, there's more anime nerds in soft than you would expect, right? There's more like guys who are really into the science of personal training as like a thing that they're really, you know, obsessed with. There's just all this insane diversity of people, and they all have this strength of character. And I think that in any kind of selection course, however much more harder or not harder it may be, just in that whole realm, if your strength of character can endure that, not only is that just a good thing, yay, good for you, but it strengthens that too. And I think that's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. So are you excited then you survived, made it through, you
think you can fight anybody. You'd be like, I'll go into a bar, I'll fight everybody. And you just get your ass kicked. But you definitely think you can do it. Yeah. Yeah. I am actually Jason Bourne.
Yeah. It was like, everybody, when we get back from the Marine Corps, like boot camp, we're God's gift to the earth.
Yeah.
Like
right.
every Marine that comes back on boot, and it's every single one. It's like we graduate boot camp, you get 10 days before you go back and do infantry school or whatever. But we were just like, I'm the greatest thing that's ever walked this earth. Like, nasty civilians, just like it's like so beat into you.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. So then you, where'd you end up going? Where'd you end up?
So they had us all they're like, all right, you guys have heard about RIP, but we're in RASP now. And so we are the people's RASP. So everybody get into your lines for what battalion you want to go to. You get to pick now. And we're like, oh, you used to just get assigned to it. This is great. So nobody goes to the third bat line except for one guy because they're in Fort Benning, Georgia. One guy has family around there, so he's like, I'll go there. And then
poor bastard. I don't know why nobody wants to come back.
Yeah, exactly. A group of us went to the second bat line because I didn't really know anywhere in America, but I knew some kind of people in that area in the Northwest.
Right? Yep. Washington State.
Yeah. And then most people went to the first bat line, which is Savannah, Georgia, because why wouldn't you want to go there? Mm-hmm. And then they were basically like, screw you, nothing's different, you're all going to third bat. And he literally gave us the finger, and then we all went to third bat. So except for one guy who had some sort of platoon in first bat, and he got away, but the rest of us went to third. So,
really?
Yep.
And third's in Benning, right? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you guys, and they knew it too.
Yep. And we had been there, so I never really left.
Yeah.
I was, because you would go there for OSUT and then airborne school and then RASP. So just the black hole that keeps sucking you back in. Yeah.
So what was that like getting received into third bat?
It's kind of the place of pain and suffering from the Ranger battalions, I guess, especially when you're a private.
It's because that was 2010, correct? So when you finished RASP?
Yep, and they had just gotten back from their last Iraq deployment,
the last one, or was it the last? Yeah,
the last one that third bat did.
Third bat did. Okay.
Yeah. They were all pushing back into Afghanistan. Some platoons had been doing that, and then some platoons hadn't. But my platoon had just come back from Iraq, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. So they were feeling awful nice.
Feeling real froggy.
Yeah.
Real generous.
So we basically just got smoked all the time. But you kind of extends your RASP experience a little bit. But you just kind of fight your way up.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of work your way up. And then I went on my first deployment about 7-8 months after that, and then Ranger school after that. So then come back and you can kind of be a human being.
Mm-hmm. What was that first workup like then, all the way getting to Afghan?
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't come in the early days. I'm coming in right at the middle. Afghanistan's pretty hot and heavy at the time. But everybody knew what they were doing. I mean, it was like rinse and repeat, and they even knew how to train us. They were like, they were basically trying to put an emphasis on not training for those missions because something else could happen. And they're like, we don't want to get too hyper focused on just this one thing. So we're learning all this other stuff. But as far as what to do on target in Afghanistan, it's we've been doing it for a decade. And when it comes to these soft infantry kid types, whether they're in the regular infantry or, in Ranger Battalion or wherever, they're basically their squad grandpa, great grandpa has fought in the war, your squad leader, so to speak, and these guys have passed down this knowledge that way generationally, basically. And huge amount of knowledge on just tactically how to hit a compound, right? just had been refined so much. So we came into this huge, really beefy existing structure, and were able to just take advantage of it and learn a ton. I got kind of lucky and had kind of really good leadership all the way up, especially at the beginning. So yeah, you just started with very small individual level skills and just work your way up to bigger and more complex stuff, and rinse and repeat every training cycle. At the end of it, you go on your deployment.
Did you guys do anything specialty? Like did you go to any schools then before you deployed, or was it because you were a new guy you didn't really have them? Or
yeah, not when you're a new guy.
Yeah,
maybe bus driver school.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. But everybody's trying to avoid that, because then it doesn't matter once you become leadership. Nobody wants to go to bus driver school, so there's always like one bus driver in the platoon, and he hates the fact that he's that bus driver. Is this a Marine Corps thing at all? No? Okay. No. You can't drive a bus in the Army unless you've been to bus driver school.
Yeah.
This is the most military thing. So yeah, everyone's trying to avoid going to it because it's bus driver school. And yeah, every once in a while they begrudgingly send some new sacrifice, which is a new private, and they're like, you're going to bus driver school, and they go, and then forever they're the bus driver. It doesn't matter. They get E5, E6, like until there's a new sacrificial bus driver kid.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Because they're really trying to avoid it that much. Like,
Yeah. So how was that what was that feeling like getting on your first deployment going 2010?
I mean, so I knew, because I had been in a school shooting before, that I wouldn't like freak out, So I knew that I wasn't gonna go crazy, but there's so many other variables. I mean, I'm still just worried what every other well-trained new guy is worried about. I mean, I'm worried that my saw links are actually seated right. That's what I'm thinking. That's where my brain is anyway. So I'm like, oh man, I got the starter clip thing on there and everything. I was a 46 gunner to start, so I was on a saw, the Mark 46. Is
that 7.62 or 222?
5.56.
5.56. Okay.
But HK version of the 249.
Got it. Okay, I was gonna say because the 47 was or 48 Mark 48.
48
is the
is the 240 version. 7.62. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I rock that thing too. I love that thing. The H&K, it's a little smaller. It's a little heavy because it's H&K, but I don't know. And it doesn't have the stupid magazine thing, which I'm not really a fan of.
You mean the one that 249 has the
Yeah, you can shove the magazine in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Never really.
We never used it.
Needed that.
Yeah. I was the same way too.
Actively causes problems. Yeah. So with dust.
Everyone hated the 249. I was like, 249. It's great, man. It rocks.
It is great. Yeah.
I feel like you shouldn't do the 3-round burst. I feel like you should be doing 5 to 6. I feel like feeding it actually makes it operate better.
Oh, totally.
Totally. Well, that's when it jams. Just don't do 3.
The only time I've ever
5,
used
6.
burst was as Op4 because I wanted to use it at some point.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only time I've ever used burst on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so it was like that first time going over. Then where'd you guys end up? Where you operating out of? Kalat.
Yeah, Kalat, Afghanistan. So kind of the middle between, I think, Kandahar and Jabad, and Thruway.
Yeah.
Right there.
What was that op tempo like though? Life
It was probably every third day we'd go out on something on average. It was more like big stretches of going out every night, followed by some downtime.
Yeah.
But on average, it was probably every third day. So that'd be 50. I think I counted 55 missions on the first deployment. So that'd be in 4 months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's averaging every other day or on average. Not saying you are.
Thereabouts. Yeah. It was my busiest deployment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. Learned a lot. Our sleep schedule was all crazy. So, we were in the hooch, which just for anybody who doesn't know, is just kind of like a blacked out permanent tent structure kind of thing. And we would be working at night mainly and then sleeping in the idea was that we would sleep in the day and work at night. But that deployment, and that was mostly the case on my other deployments, but that one we really got mixed around quite a bit just because doing daytime missions, just enough to keep you all mixed up. And my squad didn't really have the strictest sleeping schedule, so we kind of do whatever we want. And we had an Xbox, and Mortal Kombat 10, I think it was, had just come out, so there was a lot of that going on, a lot of Halo. So
sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. That was good.
Yeah. Do you think anything stand out to you in that deployment?
Just I mean, a lot of the I think of a good one. Yeah, I think so. This isn't a very exciting story, but it does stand out to me because of what it taught me. So we were approaching a compound in the middle of a town, a decent sized town too. So we're kind of weaving through those little alleyways, the dirt kind of building alleyways, and we get up to the target compound, and I'm on secondary assault. So, we've got like the first guys kind of isolating the whole area, and they're kind of like surrounding it and climbing up on rooftops and being all ninjas about it. I'm more explaining for everybody else, and you're like, yeah, I know. Yeah. So, they're kind of like creeping up around, and then, the second squad in that lineup, they're going to be, they're going to go inside the compound, and you can kind of flow in that way. And then the secondary one, which is what I was on, is kind of like the third, very last in the line. And we're going to follow, if it's a huge compound, goes underground, like all the time, especially in towns like cities like that, you have a random door that's, these buildings are on the edges of a courtyard a lot of times. You have a random door that goes into the next courtyard. So now you've got one compound that is now two compounds, and now you got to keep going. And so we're on this very end in case this is a huge compound, in case there's some issue, in case we need a flex to do something, whatever. But at the very back of the line for sure. And we would rotate that job every mission. So we would, like if you're on isolation, different platoons, different people, whatever, do it differently. But that's how we did it, that deployment. So very much not in the action for sure. Nothing's happening there unless you get hit from behind or something. So the lead element, the primary assault, as soon as they enter, they isolated it. As soon as they enter the compound, they take contact. They take fire from this dude in a window. Lead element immediately returns fire, smokes that guy. He's down. They go in, they clear the building. Really unfortunate situation where a round actually ricocheted off of the guy, and I guess some context first. In classic Taliban fashion, he had decided that his family was a worthy sacrifice, that he can have them in a big room with him, and he can shoot at our guys, and if we shoot back into his room, bullets will bounce around and they'll kill his family, and they'll all be martyrs together, and that helps. Their whole information war was in full swing back then, so that helps them. Long story short, change certain narratives to make it to be like, oh yeah, they came in here and slaughtered civilians. So intentionally shooting at us from this window with his family there, also with IED material all around him. So hopefully big bada boom is what he's really hoping for. Guys shoot him and just him, like really precise, but a round ricochets off of him and hits the woman in the axe pocket and kills her. And there's also two kids there. Kids are fine. Physically fine.
Yeah.
But they do everything like to the T. It's a very tragic, like good shot too. And just the chaos of what happens and things like that. You get around, she's not even near the window. She's like, perpendicular to it, and still gets hit with a round like that. But anyway, so I'm sitting there in the way back, and then we start to get machine gun grazing fire over our heads from somewhere else, something further down. And then we start to hear, we hear an RPG go over, and then we start to hear mortar fire coming in. So there's this little firefight that's taken care of. I get a little distracted by the whole family situation there. It's just pretty awful. But taking a lot of fire from this random other place outside of the city, like right on the edge of it. And I hear my team leader comes up behind me, and he's like, watch down that alleyway in the back. And so I'm sitting there with my saw. We've already taken contact, and I'm like watching down this alleyway, pointing with my saw, waiting for something to happen. We're taking fire from a direction that's to my back, and nothing happened to me. Turns out, unsurprisingly, the mortar fire, grazing fire, and RPG was from the ANA, of course. The Afghan army. I've actually never been on a deployment where I haven't been shot at by the ANA at least once. So that was the big one, though. Yikes! I actually heard over radio something about friendly fire with mortars, and I was like, oh man, because I thought Americans were mortaring us, and I was like, ooh, this is not going to be good. I was like,
someone's gonna get.
My heart dropped a little bit. I was like, man, but then I heard it was the Afghan army, and I've been mortared by them before that. So I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll probably be okay.
We're fine.
We might be okay. But I mean, and not to get too sidetracked on that, but like, this was the city that they're posted on. It was their military base. They're mortaring their own city just because like somebody shot a gun in it, right? Like they're like, oh, there's shooting over there, mortar the whole city. Like what? And we had an Apache do a flyover, and they shot at it. And then after a while, they settled down eventually because we were about to go over there. After the Apache thing, we were going to be like, okay, we're going to crush these guys. And then they stopped because I think they figured that out. And they told us they thought that we were the Taliban. I was like, what? Flying Apaches? Seriously?
Yeah, really?
I have a picture. This guy came out. It's the most ridiculous thing, too. He has a vest that's homemade with literally, they look like sequins. They're 40 mic holders. But he just had literally as many 40 mics as you could like... 40 millimeter like rounds as you could put like Molly. He has. It's hilarious. He came down there all decked out and told us that he thought we were the Taliban. You guys are insane, man.
It's not shocking like at all.
No. I've had good experiences with the ANA, but I've had a lot of bad ones too.
So is that the most excitement you had on the first one?
I mean, just got in a lot of fights. I wouldn't say, actually, to go back a little bit. So on that one, I was really like focusing on that alleyway. Nothing happened. No one came down it. And my whole back was to this firefight the entire time. And, I don't like that, right? I mean, one, you want to be in the fight, right? But two, I mean, it's scary, right? It's behind there. It's all this stuff going on. And I'm just like... there's kind of like this half broken wall and a mound of dirt that doesn't matter over there. And just looking at it like, I don't know, but that's my responsibility. That's like, no one's coming down this alleyway without me knowing. And if they're a civilian, then I'll handle them the right way. And if they're hostile to me and my friends, then I'll handle them that way too. But like, it just kind of taught me a very important lesson. And I remember I kind of let it hit me, which I don't with all the lessons in my life, but that one I did, and I'm lucky for that. Is that it hit me that sometimes your job isn't really that big of a deal. It's not that dramatic, but it doesn't have to be dramatic to be really important. And I take that to my work now. If I had a platoon sergeant there that like the first time we took fire, we had taken this school that the Taliban had basically made as a stronghold, and we kind of took it back, and they were shooting at us, and they RPG'd us a little bit and had a Dishka out, and he was just like, I don't know, he was running around like, whoa, let's go guys, come on. He's just like being all super motivated Alabama dude. And then, so he looks like just a Nordic god, absolutely jacked. And, the last guy you want to piss off, a little nicer maybe than he looks, but definitely. but I'll never forget on my third deployment, he was like, we had to do some paperwork. And he heard that somebody had told us that like, Rangers don't even know how to do this shit or whatever. And he got really mad about that. And he was like, you asked me to learn how to do paperwork. He's like, I'm going to do the best paperwork anyone's ever done, and he's like, you get asked to do something, you get asked to clean the bathroom, then you clean the bathroom better than it's got to be cleaner than anyone ever could make it. It just stuff like that. It's like really in caring a lot about what you do and caring a lot about what you put your time into. And it doesn't matter if it's glamorous, if it's a spreadsheet, if it's an alleyway that's not in the middle of the firefight. Like that matters a lot, and you just gotta do it, you know. And I fired my weapon in combat, you know, but I really like that story because it's not just pat on the back important, right? Like it's important. Everybody's got to do that, and you're already in the arena or whatever it is, right? You're already doing the work. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I learned a lot from that, and like I said, I try to carry that into my life now. Like if I have to learn a spreadsheet, if I got to learn how these stupid formulas work to be a little bit better at accounting, so I know how to talk to the person who's doing the accounting, like. You know, boohoo, then I got to learn it, or I got to put myself in a position where I don't need to learn that. One or the other, like that won't just go away, so, and glamour, removing that kind of what's glamorous and inserting what's important, I think is, everybody already agrees with that, but it's more of a matter of articulating it to yourself and being like, hey, I know this alley, because every ranger, every Marine is going to know that an alleyway like that's important. Like don't, like pull security, like watch your sector, like do that. You know, everybody agrees with that, but you know, carrying that into life now, I think is really, really been helpful for me. So that's something I learned from my first deployment.
Nice. So what happened then after you get back?
I went to Ranger school.
How was that?
Yeah, it sucked.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah. I got lucky, went straight through, so that was cool. You know, I have a bunch of funny Ranger School stories. Like, I just random one. I was walking in Florida phase, and we were staggered. So, and I was the second in a staggered column down a road. So, basically, our whole group of, if you don't know what that means, our whole group of, I guess, you know, Ranger guys, were lined left and right down the side of a road and dotted, kind of staggered. So you got one guy in the front, on the right, and then left, and then back, and then back. And I was the second one, and so there's one guy to my right. And it's kind of weird when you're following somebody for a really long time. You know, you get in the zone. You're sleep deprived, you're food deprived, you're super, you know, skinny and calorie deficient, and you're just kind of like running on fumes, and you start hallucinating, and you get in that zone when you're just following that guy right in front of you, you know, and kind of like that. But it's weird when they're a little bit off to your right as well, or a little bit off to your left when you're staggered like that. I feel like it's a little weirder. But I just remember hallucinating. He just turned into a boulder, like a big, like a rougher version of like the Arrival spaceship. Yeah. You know, like this kind of vertical hovering thing. And it was just, I would just be like, I was already like pretty experienced at hallucinating by then. So I was like, that's not real. So I was like, all right, I know this drill. Yeah. But that one just cracked me up too. Yeah. I kind of laughed a little bit when that happened, but, yeah, no, I just like the sleep stuff would was my least favorite part. Yeah. You know, everybody, it's like the food or the sleep is always what was that for you?
Sleep. I mean, that was that sleep deprivation was, and especially my first deployment, man. It was like, I always tell the joke about that. I saw the purple monkey on the because somebody's like said, you know, it's whatever's in your head. Mm-hmm. And I remember like being on post and just looking down, like this was our ECP or VCP, whatever, our vehicle. It was, we were in the middle of a city. So, you know, you look down the street, that's the street of like the city. Like, so it's like, you're it, man. Yeah. If somebody wants to storm this place, like Private Nagel's it. You know, like I got to stop them. But we had like our little barriers, and we were patrolling, you come off patrol. The worst was coming off patrol and then going right on. So you'd go at like 10, it was like, what was that? It was like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. It's like the worst time. So we'd come off and whatever. So you'd have to spend there all night, and we were solo. So we wouldn't even get to like hang out with somebody or do whatever. So we just had to sit there with all our gear on. They wouldn't let us take anything off. And I remember like looking out and seeing like a purple monkey like run across, like it was like a CG, like a 2006 era CG ILM, like
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, holy shit, like I'm hallucinating. I just saw the purple monkey run across the VCP, and then other guys would report something into like, there's a pterodactyl outside my post, I know he's not real, but can you guys just don't believe he's not real, right? And everyone's like, yes. And he's like, okay, I just want to make sure, so stuff like that. Yeah, I absolutely hallucinated. There was one, it was one that was in sniper school that like we were up doing training. It was Hell Week in sniper school. We were on Bellows. And we're up on this like ridge line, and we're trying to dig into like the side of a mountain. It was not working like at all. It was like it was terrible. But we were up, and I remember like trying to do. We went down to 15-minute watch. We couldn't hold it longer than 15 minutes. Like even then, it was like a challenge. It was so bad. And I remember these ninjas like running up the hill. They're like, and then like they swung their sword at me. I was like, that like wake me up. And yeah, it was bad. That was really bad. And I actually fell asleep walking at one point too. Like we were doing
that's super common.
School
happens all the time.
And Final Effects and sniper school. I was like, I closed my eyes and I was like, whoa, I'm in another spot. It was pretty wild. Yeah,
that never happened to me. I fell asleep standing up all the time.
Yeah. But it wasn't like crazy. It's not like I did like a mile or something. Yeah. But it was like something that would be worth it. Be like, oh, sweet, I just passed out for a mile. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you wish. Oh my God.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. But it was like 10, 15. It was like maybe 10 feet or something. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah.
We would stop during our FTXs. We would stop and do like a layout or whatever because they're always trying to get you on any possible lost tiny item or anything that they could get you on. So, you'd stop and get into like a formation in the middle of the night or get smoked or whatever. And actually kind of every once in a while / all the time, somebody would just like bricks just down and then it's really funny. Totally like out.
We had one in infantry school. It was always funny to me. We were doing like the 10-mile hike or something like that. And typically, so like our weapons guys in infantry school, they got to ride vehicles to the range because they were doing heavy weapons or something like that. So like if you're a 50 cal or, whatever, you were just going to the range and shooting and then you come back. Well, they had to then carry the 50 on the hikes. These guys aren't used to going to the range. Like we were, the 11s were like, we were ruck running.
Yeah.
Like it was awesome actually. It was really cool. I always loved running. I was like, this is awesome. Our instructor would take off and like, you didn't have to do it, but you're like, I was like all motivated. So I would like stay with my instructor. There's like 2 or 3 of us that are like, yeah, this is so cool. Like ruck running back to the barracks.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, there was one kid that was doing, I just remember like looking over him. We were like just finishing too. I mean, like we're just like 200 meters out from like our barracks or whatever. Yeah. And I see him just go with a 50, go bam, like down to his knees, face plant. Just, I was like, oh shit. Oh man. Yeah. I was like, hey, Corbin up, and you saw him like, dude, and then like his head just hit like, oh man.
Is he all right?
Yeah, he was fine. Yeah, he was fine. Yeah. But it was like crazy seeing that because you don't see that. Like, it's wild.
I also have a funny tired open bolt head injury Ranger school story from me.
Yeah.
I was it was in mountains the second phase, so kind of halfway through. I don't really remember when. And I was going down a hill and I had a saw, so I had the 249 then. Which I wasn't as used to, which is funny because I'd been a saw gunner, but mostly a 46 gunner. So I mean, it's really not that much of a difference, but not having that mag well and all the dust that would get up in it was like, I'd be able to be like, oh, mine's like cooler, you know, and all that stuff. And it is cooler. I don't know if it's as cool as I thought it was, but I had to deal with this thing now because I had a 249 in Ranger school. So I'm like going down a hill. And I start, when you get a little bit too much momentum going down a hill, you're like, you start to like, whoa, I don't know if this train's going to stop. I definitely went way out of the station and started going faster and faster. And then just eventually was running and then, falling at some point and slammed my face literally into the mag well of it. And, I fell. I was really tired, obviously. And, I had a stress fracture in my foot already, so I was like broke up already. And but I don't know, I couldn't tell if I was like being super tough or something. But I lifted my head up. I was like, oh, I feel pretty all right. I'm okay. And then the RI, the instructor, comes running down, and he's like, oh man, you all right? And at first I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. And then I turned to him, and his face was like, oh, and I was like, oh no. I was like, oh
yeah.
man. And the scariest thing, like if you're not like obviously, you know, bones sticking out or something, it's, you know, I don't want to get recycled. Don't send me back, man. I'll deal with whatever. If I can, then I will. And I like kind of look down, I'm like bleeding everywhere. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, man, I must be tough or something. I was like, you know, and I was just like, my blood was probably thinner. It's a head wound, obviously, so it just bleeds really a lot. Like he wipes it up, and it's the tiniest little cut. Like it's just this little thing. So I just wasn't really tough at all. It just wasn't that big of a deal. It actually wasn't that bad. So I had this little cut, but the blood was still all stained. And then he gave me like an old school, you know, for training Ranger school like cravat to like tie around my head. So I looked like badass Rambo for a whole. Everybody be like, "What happened to that guy?" And I was like,
"I'm pretty awesome."
I tripped over myself and hit my head on my own gun.
I got like, a deployment under my belt. I've been to
cool.
Afghanistan.
Yeah. What do you know?
What do you know, man? That's awesome. So, like Ranger school is funny because like people talk about how, I mean, the sleep deprivation, all that stuff, but it's also just not Rangers that are going through because it's like a leadership, kind of like infantry tactics course. You know? Like I didn't know that till later on because they were like trying to offer it to me in Marine Corps and I like to like re-enlist or do it. I was like, why would I ever go to Ranger school? You know, like what point would, you know, like, and I'm like, I don't know. It was just funny that they're like, we could send you to Ranger school. It's like, Ranger school? Why don't you send me to Mountain Sniper? Why don't I go to like something that's useful to my skill? Like, why don't you send me to Ranger school? But it was kind of, you know, I learned later on, like, oh, that's a pretty good school. You know, it's obviously a really good school to do. But I also like found out too, like you guys at regiment, like, you know, like you're a Ranger you're a Ranger in regiment. So like when you graduate RASP, like you are like a Ranger.
When you're assigned to the unit, you have the job, you do the job, then you're the thing.
You're the Ranger. Yeah, you're a Ranger.
The school is like they'll say it like a Ranger qualification. So it's just in their minds, it's just a different thing. It's a school that you go to. It's a leadership school. But if you're in Ranger Battalion, then you like if you want to be a serious leader in Ranger Battalion, if you want to do anything serious in Ranger Battalion, you have to go to that school. So it's more like a rite of passage. It is the rite of passage to be taken seriously as a person.
Yeah. So it was like that, and after you got your Ranger tab, you know, school or whatever, you know, what was your follow on deployment? What was going to the next one? What was your workup like, and then?
I jumped right back into it. I mean, I was back in the training cycle. You're supposed to get days off. I had the weekend, and I was 145 pounds coming out. I was 175 to 180 going into Ranger school, and you know, muscle, and then coming out this emaciated little ginger kid. Please feed me. You know, and then I jumped right into an exercise, like a platoon size exercise, because they had done that build up while I was in Ranger school, and so I just kind of jumped in where they were at and kept going. And then we deployed. The second one was to Sharana, which was, you know, didn't get into too much trouble there, but it was very cold. Was
it like a winter deployment, or what was the?
Mostly. But super cold. Down to negative 35 with wind chill was the coldest one. A bunch of guys got frostbite on that one.
What was the location? Like in the country?
I said Sharana, didn't I? I meant Shank, Logar.
Oh, okay, Logar.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone knows that's cold. It's Logar, Shank. Sharana was the third one. Yep. So very cold. There was this issue where, you know, if you fire your weapon, like your weapon won't cycle because all of the lube that you're using is just going to freeze. But there was a type of machine gun. It wasn't oil. It's like what was that? It's like a creamy pasty thing. I don't know. I'm not a gun nerd, but anymore. But I'm really not much then either. But that stuff would be able to hold up. But mostly just cold. Nobody wants to fight when it's that cold too. Because we're coming out there looking like big scary Michelin men with all of our stuff, you know, with glowing eyes, which is even scarier because we're coming in blizzards. And like, what are you gonna do? I mean, you've got like blankets. You know, you've got your heat source in your house, but can you maneuver in weather like that? You'll die. Like you can't, you know, this is like Montana in the dead of winter during the Wild West. Like you'll just die. So it's like nobody wants to fight, but like you would be stupid to fight in a lot of that.
Did you you're like, no one's gonna be on this target? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of dry holes, just nothing.
How pissed were you?
Nothing
Just like, can we just walk
on.
up? We don't need to do all this shit.
Yeah. Oh man. And going up that was a big terrace one. You know, the terrace is just going up those things. Just
I got it right there. I got a photo. Yep. I don't know if you can kind of see it under the dark light there. Yeah, how big the terraces were. Yeah. He's climbing up those. Like, it's stupid.
Helicopter lands on the top of one, and you're at the bottom one. And you're like, oh my gosh.
So not too exciting than that second one. It's just kind of cold and.
Yeah. I think that was the one where I can't remember if this was the second or the third one, but we got into this fight with this guy or these two guys, and this might have been my third one, but they were barricaded shooters, and we wanted them alive if we could, but that's hard to do with barricaded shooters.
I was gonna say that kind of goes out the window.
Tough.
Yeah.
But my platoon sergeant was like, but what if we just we're in a firefight, we're in the middle of a firefight, so we threw our thermobaric instead of into the room with them, we threw a thermobaric into the room next to them. And I don't know if you have done much with thermobarics before, but they basically always light a house on fire. So the fire drove them out because a lot of people are willing to die in a firefight. Not a lot of people are willing to die in a fire. Yeah. So not only, and then when you're all kerfuffled about it, you're not the best at being an active fighter anymore. You're just trying to run away from fire, death. So yeah, we got him alive.
Nice. Good job. I would have just killed him.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, I don't know what we're going to do. I guess we're just going to frag this thing till they're dead.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I mean, there's probably a lot of luck there because most guys, if you're already willing to die fighting, you would just come out fighting. So,
exactly.
But fire is pretty scary. So, yeah.
So then, like I said, you had that one, and then you used 3 months, right? Rotation, and then.
Usually more around 4, but 3 to 4.
Yeah. So then what was the workup
short
like?
though.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I know you guys do like the shorter stints or whatever.
Yeah, 3 to 4 on, like 7 months training, but everybody's just waiting for deployment because the training's so intense. It's just please take me back to deployment. I mean, if you're in a heavy deployment, that's difficult for kind of emotional reasons. I guess that's different, but in general, it's kind of like, okay, I can go on deployment. I can basically be doing the work that I'm here to do, or be playing video games and going to the gym and stuff like that, or I can be back here stressing out about my team leader 24/7. My squad leader, my platoon sergeant, or whatever.
Well, after that first pump, I mean, and the second pump, I gotta imagine it's a lot better for you in the barracks.
Oh yeah. I mean, after Ranger School, basically for Rangers, that's everything starts to change. I mean, you still get more respected the higher up you get, and I left as an E5 as a team leader, so I wasn't really super high up the chain of command or anything. I was just kind of one of the knuckle draggers. But
you got in three, or how many did you get in? 4. Okay. Yeah. So was it then coming back from that second one? Was that all right, cool. Now you really kind of
you start to really generate a sense of what it means to be a ranger. I think concepts, tactical concepts, start to click. I'll never forget when all of the battle drills for me clicked at one time, and don't ask me to rattle them off now, but I just remember thinking, and it wasn't all of them, but most of them, and this might sound ridiculous to a lot of people, but things, but it did definitely pass me by, a really comprehensive understanding of how, hey, most of these battle drills are just react to contact, but complicated. It's you've got your, sport by fire element, and you've got some kind of flanking element. You can have complicated. You can have an intermediate, line of fire or whatever it's called. Your intermediate sport by fire. You can not have that. You might have a trench. You might have to have a signal to whatever. You've got your little VS-17 panel cut off on your antenna or whatever. That's probably is archaic now, but whatever it is that you're doing to mark your position while you're moving along the trenches and stuff like that, you're just flanking, but you need to communicate where you are because you're, being a little guy in a trench now. So you got to show them where to shift fire. Stuff like that is you're still just a support by fire element and a flanking element. And, that's super specific. That's a very singular example that, doesn't make sense to everybody maybe, but it's indicative of these concepts that I'm starting to understand. And I'm that, and when you understand concepts like that, you can solve combat problems a lot easier because now you understand why behind it. So if you have some sort of trouble, and like clearing a room is the epitome of this, right? Like you have some unknown, which every single room is completely different. It's not like this patch of woods or that patch of woods and your giant terrain features are different. It's like every room is legitimately wildly different from the next. You have this ability to like creative problem solve like in a reactionary way, really fast, and just developing that skill, I think, through just experience, different missions, different you know, like problems that you've solved, and just training over and over and over again on top of that. You know, I don't know if Ranger Battalion is the easiest quality of life, but they get the reps in, you know, and you're really like getting it in over time, and you just benefit so much from that. And they're not afraid to sit down and do basic stuff. Like they will make you do tourniquets for forever. And they're like, you will be the best at doing this, you know? And they're like, well, you know, but like, you know, these guys don't like, they don't have to always focus on this stuff. And it's like, well, you know, I don't know. Maybe they do. We don't actually know how SEAL teams or Green Berets do it. Like you are in Ranger Town and you don't really know anything because you're like 20 and like you just got here and the whole world is foreign to you. So, but what you do know is that you got to get better at this thing, and you need to also do it 8,000 times or else I will smoke you for forever. So, you know, but it really gets you good at just mastering fundamentals like that. You know, and so, yeah.
Nice. So you get back from that second one. How's the workup going into the third?
Well, okay, I went to SERE during that one.
Yeah. So
my squad leader told me when I graduated Ranger School and went on the deployment after that, during the next training cycle, he let me go to a school of my choice, and it was I kind of was stuck between Master Breacher, which was an internal Ranger regiment program that would teach you all the cool guy breaching stuff, you know, big explosives, like complex kind of different breaching charges for all sorts of things. But I don't know. I didn't go. So went to SERE instead, and went to SERE in Fort Rucker. And, you know, it was funny when you were talking about like, why would I go to Ranger School? It was like monsooning in SERE, and I was out in one of the field exercises and just standing in the monsoon. And I had been on 2 deployments, had been through RASP and then Ranger School the next year. But this one I didn't need to go to. This one I really volunteered for. Like I knew RASP and Ranger School, like RASP, you just go into it because you want to. Ranger School, you know, you really have to progress. It's a big part. SERE, I was just like straight up all my fault. And I was just sitting in the monsoon, and I had a bunch of new pilots who were actually like, you know, it's fun to make fun of all the new pilots going through SERE, but they were pretty cool. But they were just all running around, and I was just looking up and being like, why did I sign up for this again? Like, why am I doing this again? I was for like 2 minutes straight. I was so mad at myself, and I was just like, not really that seriously, but I was just like, oh my God, I cannot believe I am in this. There's really no one to blame but myself like right now, for sure.
What was your motivation going? You're just like, I want to knock out SERE or experience it, or?
Yeah. I mean, when I got through it, it's the best taught school in the Army. In my opinion, that I ever went to. You know, maybe you could argue that it's because it's like, well, it's the one that's taught by civilians, but you know, I don't know. I mean, they're all like very experienced and stuff, but no, it's really well taught. I got everything out of it that I wanted to, which was really kind of just the experience and the knowledge of that stuff. I mean, I was just really interested in that. I mean, like everybody wants to know how to like escape, you know, and just kind of felt a little bit more relevant to me. I mean, there's a little bit of a connection just with having been a civilian in a terrorist attack when I was a kid, and you know, that's a whole part of it, is what to do in kind of more volatile situations where you may not be armed or you may be armed, you know, because a lot of it's for you're a pilot, you're shot down, you got a pistol, it's very easy to run out of all your rounds of that and still be on the run, stuff like that. So a lot of people in kind of remote areas, I don't know. Yeah. Thought it'd be cool.
We do.
But yeah.
I missed it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one, they were going to send me, God, what was it? Oh yeah, Mew took my slot. So before my second deployment, they're supposed to send me after sniper school, and like per Marine Corps admin, they're like, you need to have SERE school if you're a sniper. Of course, that never happens because we have no money. So it was like, and so they're like, all right, cool. So they were like, hey, you're slotted to go. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm getting ready for it. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna suck. Everyone that goes, like, you know, they're like, you'll know when you get there and they get back. They won't tell you anything. Ours was like only like a week long. I don't know how long your guys, you know, was. And it's like classroom for a few days, and then I think it's like 3 days of E&E or whatever. It's I think the whole course is only like a week.
Gotcha.
And I was like, all right, sounds good. And then they're like, hey, you're not going. I was like, oh, why? They was like, well, somebody from the Mew took your slot. And they were like, okay, cool. So then after my second pump, they're like, hey, we're gonna send you. I was like, sounds good. And then they were like, hey, but then I went to regiment. So I got out of the platoon, went to regiment, and was like, you know, going to Afghanistan. I was doing a whole different train up.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we can't, like,
You think
swap.
they really want to send you with that stuff going on?
Well, but that was like under a different unit though. So there was like my sniper platoon and then like the combat device, completely different, you know. And they were like, hey, if you want to go still, you can, because we can't send somebody in your spot. Like Ethan Nagel is it. If not, it's got to go to like some other unit. And they're like, so do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, not really. Because I was already like on the workup too.
Yeah.
It was like going to be like in September. And I was like, dude, I'm going to Afghanistan. Like I'm not worried about SERE school. So
that was, a part of it with school is that, you know, I really wanted to not do the training cycle again on one hand.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you know, you are training for something. So get to do like fun stuff. I did do it, but fun stuff, you know, sitting there in a monsoon, like, what? But
they do the whole like stuff you in a box and shit. Or
yeah.
They like, put you in a box. They like
slap you
spray
down.
down.
Slap you.
All they like stuff. Open hand slap you or whatever.
Yeah, they're good at it.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of stuff.
Did you? What was it? Did they water torture? Did they do water torture? Did they? No. Okay. All right.
No. Just me and my ranger friends on our own for fun.
Well, there was.
What does it feel like, bro?
Yeah. What was what was it? There was some point in SERE school. I think that was like the interrogation.
Bunch of them. All shapes and sizes of those. Yeah. But. Yeah, no, it was a really like surprisingly good school. Like I just learned a lot, and I kind of realized how I think a lot of the other Army schools could take note of just the efficiency of teaching. And it's kind of just like, oh yeah, just teach like a normal person too. You know, there's so much like drill and ceremony that goes into this stuff, and a lot of it's important, and I understand why it's important. But when you start to eat into functional time of like, hey, we're doing useful classroom time in a small period of time. We are teaching more. It helps that your audience is either usually experienced guys or actual pilots. So, you know, I don't know. It's maybe a high bar even for myself when I first joined. I don't know. Maybe that's too much for me to handle. I need to. But yeah.
So what then happened after that? How was the training cycle going to 3?
So again, I finished on a Sunday from SERE and literally went to work on Monday. I was supposed to get time off for that too, but I didn't. I just went right back to it and back in the training cycle and did another big platoon one because that buildup was going up again, and just went right back into it. And just like every other time, nothing special, just kind of in the middle of the swirl of platoons going back and forth and back and forth. And we hit that third deployment was in Sharana, and very political deployment because it was during that was Obama re-election.
2012. I was in country for that.
Yeah. So a lot of political grandstanding going on from Karzai to get, you know, like funding. To get us shut down.
Yeah. From you guys. Okay. Yeah. Because the contractor side, we saw the Afghans scramble to basically build their infrastructure because it was like part of that 2012 election was like, do we end the war in Afghanistan? And I was a contractor. So we saw all the Afghans that, you know, basically took the money and ran. Well, they're like, can we have more money to actually fix our roads? So the road construction was wild because they were basically like, we need to fix our roads before the cash cow leaves. So essentially all the roads we're getting fixed. It was actually pretty insane. It was
Yeah.
proficient, but
Yeah.
we're like, the reason you're doing this is because the money is probably going to end.
Yeah.
Obviously it didn't, but
Yeah.
It was
Sure.
but
Yeah,
those
it
are
never
big,
ends.
those are
Yeah.
big political talking points though, was like,
Yeah.
are we ending the war in Afghanistan?
Yeah. Well, and in order to appease any public perception of it, you have to appease the government that's communicating about it. And that's the Afghan government, which, not known for being like a ironclad moral institution.
Yeah.
So, it's just, you would have something happen, like we get in a firefight and somebody dies, somebody, a Taliban guy dies and no civilians. And you'll literally have, in this, you'll have them just be like, oh, they bombed a village, or they'll come through and kill some guy because he talked to Americans, and they'll just say that Americans killed him, and people will be so scared of him that they'll report the same thing. So, a lot of really confusing tactics that are too micro for anybody over here to not just to understand because they're stupid or smart or whatever, just because it's too much to keep track of. And by the time it gets over here, it's filtered in these big, brush strokes that are just hard to interpret. So you get a lot of things like, hey, you guys are shut down because apparently a bunch of civilians are dead in this area. And we're like, we're
Weird.
here and nobody's dead, and I mean, more complicated than that, obviously, but and I'm not like, and I was also not exactly privy to these super high level discussions or whatever. I'm a E4 in Ranger Battalion at that time, like as a corporal, and so not exactly having the big conversations, but getting shut down because of them, and getting shut down, and then Taliban forces having the chance to kind of catch their breath a little bit and gain some steam again. Then not every time you go, when you go out, you wonder if it's going to be a bigger fight, and then it would have to be. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but that one, just some interesting, more political things like that, I would say was the defining. I'd say for me, it was busy, the first one. The second one was cold. The third one was political. So then after that, between the third and the fourth, I was a line team leader at that point. So I really enjoyed that job a lot. So I didn't want to go to a school. I wanted to just be a team leader.
Yeah.
This
is a fun workup between 3 and 4 then.
Yeah. Being a E5 team leader in Ranger Battalion is like the best job. It's so cool because you're finally cool. At least you think you are anyway. I mean, you're definitely just kind of a dork like you were before, but like you think you're cool.
Yeah.
And people treat you like, you're an adult now. You have real responsibilities. You have guys under you that really trust you a lot, and they have to, and you've earned it through your performance. And if you don't, you'll really let them down. So, you're put into that box where you have to make yourself better, but you've done it for long enough that, you can, how to do it. And so the things that you're bad at, you can act more proactively. It's easier to just be like, I'm just going to work on that then, because I have to. And that's what you do. In order to, if I really want to keep doing this job and caring about these guys and caring about the mission that we're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I really liked it. And the stress is kind of off your back from being a new guy, totally relieved. It takes a long time in battalion for that to happen. And, so you just kind of feel better day to day, but, it's a sick job though. You're really like, and you don't have to carry like a big gun either. You just got your M4. So like your weight is lower. So, and you can you're way more comfortable now too. Yeah. You don't look like a total dork anyway with your kit now. You've got things figured out a bit. You're not like cockeyed, private with your helmet and your nods being all like in your face and stuff. Like you finally got, and okay, maybe some people catch on a little earlier than I did, but you just kind of got a lot more figured out, and you feel a lot more confident about it. And, and also operationally, I mean, you're kind of the first with that armed with that competence, and it might be an awful job without that competence, or at least that level of it. But armed with that being the first guy, being the point guy, or being on that primary assault, but being the first, one in the door, or even the, a team leader that's just in the second, third door, whatever, like, you have a lot of agency, and it's not necessarily agency over the enemy. I mean, some guys might think that way, but also just agency over the world that you live in, right? You have competency. You're a leader of people. You're all like working together and working really hard to accomplish this thing, right? To take this house, to take this guy out of power, that whatever, power he's in, in whatever way he wants to get taken, and yeah, I don't know. It's just all that kind of comes together, I feel like, when you're a team leader. But you're not so high ranking that you got to do all the BS too.
Yeah,
so,
it's like a perfect spot.
Yeah. I'm sure. I bet in other soft units, Rangers are a bit younger, so I bet in other soft places that's like one rank higher or something. I don't know. That's just a guess, but yeah.
That's pretty dope. So sweet. So then you go on your fourth pump. Then how was that?
That one kind of felt like Kalad at the beginning. Felt like it was hot, it was busy, and a little bit less fighting. But then it was a little later in the year in 2013. But then we went on one mission, which is like the one, which is it's called Ares.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I saw that too. You saw it.
Yeah.
That's what I was like.
You're having a stroke.
Bro, looking
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
But yeah, no, the night of October 5th, 2013, we were going on an NAI clearance. So we are just looking for dudes basically. And pretty low key, usually kind of deal. We were a split ship, so half our platoon was in one place and half our platoon was in the other place. And my platoon had done that a couple times, so it wasn't too crazy to have kind of reduced manpower, and really thankful that was the case for this one. But I don't really want to go into like a whole bunch of the details, but basically we kind of landed, got out, very odd because it's like a single building in the middle of a field, which if you've ever been to Afghanistan, you go to any target, you go to Afghanistan, you go to any target and, some compound usually. And it's kind of odd just to have a lone standing building and, not like a shed, just like a little bit bigger than that. But, I was the first one off the bird and ran off, and basically, they had pressure plates all buried underground all around that building, but they're all plugged into a car battery inside. So they waited for like me and my guys. A dude ran off into the valley, out into the just right out into this valley right near there, and me and my guys, K9 and a couple of my guys chased him down, and we ran across all those pressure plates, and they just waited for the isolation element to get all around that building, and then they plugged it in and turned it on. So they basically made it so it's a bad creative way of teleporting a bunch of people into the middle of a minefield, basically. And through that engagement, which was briefly me and that guy out in the valley, and then the people out in that central area, through that engagement, 13 explosions went off. Everybody was wounded. And this happened fast and it was very confusing. And one of the reasons why I don't like talking through it is because if you ask, 10 different people are going to have like those details that are maybe just chronological, a little bit different. And it's pretty hard, especially with something that chaotic, because that's a lot of explosions, and everybody just got rocked. It was never been in anything like that, because I've been around a little bit up until that point, and I've always been like, I could die on this, but I was never on a mission where like, oh, everybody could die.
Yeah.
And I don't know that was actually the case then, but I've never even really had that thought. I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe my squad could get wiped out by like a massive IED, or maybe like, I could get shot, plenty of times myself, and multiple people, but losing a battle in its entirety was something that, a lot of the stuff in Afghanistan is just, it's more like Wild West stuff than it is like big war kind of things. And if you get shot, it doesn't really make any difference to you. If you get shot, you're still just shot.
Yeah.
But, that was the first time that I had kind of experienced that. So that was a really different sort of thing, that, that turned out not to be the case, and we didn't all die. But we had, about 30 wounded. Everybody on the ground was wounded.
That's it. I mean, it's wild. That is a wild situation. 30 wounded in one go.
And 4 KIA.
Yeah.
So we had
4. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and a lot of the wounded range from me to, amputations, like lost eye, stuff like that. So
was it like, not to get into details, but like, so you guys surround it then, the comp, like the building, they plug it in, then some, like,
the logistical detail that is probably going to connect a lot of dots is that the pressure plates were so sensitive. So if one person, how many there were, and also the fact that it's not a true minefield. Let's say there's a guy wounded next to you and you pivot and you just take a knee. You might hit a pressure plate that goes off somewhere else, or under you, or under the guy you're trying to treat. You're literally just taking a knee to treat him. You haven't moved. One guy might try that instinctively after the first couple of explosions. Another thing was, when I was like turned around and I started hearing these things, I thought we were getting mortared, because there was no way that like explosions like that, I don't know, it's just, you would just freeze most of the time. Anything like that happens, you just don't move. But not if you don't know that it's an ID field like that. And the other thing is, like, debris and body parts can also set them off. So not much you can do about that. And that happened a lot too. So a lot of things like that basically amount in pure chaos over a period of time. And I will say that we had a medic, while one canine handler, Josh Hargis, releasing a dog and saving my life, dog taking an explosion that, and his own and others, and the dog Yanni taking an explosion and for us, and I named my dog after him. But the handler, like Josh, like that's a bond that you can't really pretty special. So but anyway, so he lost the canine as well, Yanni, and then also Brian Anderson, the medic, just running from casualty to casualty, just saying, all right, I'll just save as many of them as I can. And he saved a lot of people. He got the Distinguished Service Cross for that.
Oh shit.
And then these 2 EOD guys too, just clearing routes from guy to guy, and also allowing Brian to do his job with faster and with more confidence, and just to not die, so he can keep treating people, which is helpful for medics to be alive. So I mean, and just incredible to just be an observer of something like that is really special. So not exactly what I would choose to do, but so I got really a night of some pretty awful stuff, but some pretty heroic stuff too. And and I lost my best friend, so he was Patrick Hawkins. We were like privates together. We went to Ranger school, like a little bit offset from each other. We were in different classes, but a month off. But came back basically at the same time and became junior Ranger leaders together. We got a house off post with a couple of other Ranger buddies, and we kind of went through like a lot of stages of military together, and that we had never been on we were in the same squad through all of our deployments, so never had been on a mission without each other, and that was my last one too. So never did since. But it's good to have shared that, at least. So, but it was him and Cody Patterson, Jenny Moreno, and Joe Peters were the ones who were killed. So the 2 Rangers, CST, and this CID guy that was helping us with a lot of different things on target.
Do they know kind of what did they like direct pressure plate, or was it shrapnel, or you know what I mean? Like, was it like?
They were like, and I don't know if some EOD guy is going to correct me who was there, but there were some, I believe there were graphite pressure plates with some sort of offset explosive usually away from the plate itself. Mm-hmm. They were having a really hard time. Part of the difficulty too was that they were having a hard time picking up any metal at all, because I think it was because they were graphite or something. There was something that I think wasn't metal, or it was really hard to pick up on. So one of the EOD guys like low ordered one, like he stepped on one and he was like, it like fizzled out, and then he was like, what are you gonna do? It's like, all right, keep going, you know,
keep going. Lucky on that one.
Yeah, like, yeah, you know,
no shit.
I guess yeah. So
that was the EOD saying it's like, what was it? Yeah, I always screw up their saying it's something like it's not my problem or whatever. It's
I've heard that one. Yeah. It's like
it's immediate. Was it initial success or immediate failure? Or something like that. Well, that's like a motto. I think somebody was like offended by that one, but it was like
it's something like
immediate success or initial fail or something like that.
Don't worry about it because it's not really a problem, and if it is, then it's not, or something like that. Something along those lines.
I don't worry about it because if it, I'll work. Essentially like that. It's like if it's my problem, then it's not anymore, or something like that. Yeah.
No, those guys are super impressive. I mean, it's such a technical job to do under a lot of pressure, and I mean, they're just. All you can do is the best you can against something that you can't even see.
Well, it's it was like, I remember that just blew up. You're like, dude, the EOD guys, like, especially in Iraq and Afghanistan, obviously, as well. The South obviously went buck wild. We were Northeast, so we didn't really run into it too much, at least where we were. I mean, Iraq we did, but
sure.
But like those guys, I mean, the attrition rate or like the life expectancy for that shit was like, dude. And it was crazy because my brother was going to go, and I thought but he didn't realize how often they deployed and like how much they were gone. Mm-hmm. So he backed out because he was like, and there was like it's like $70,000 reenlistment bonus if you finish, or like $90,000 or something in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. I know the Navy's like special operations, they're like under SOCOM, like it's wild.
We had Army EOD that time, but Navy EOD, I think. I want to say my middle two were Navy. They're great too. They're awesome.
Yeah. The Marine guy. I mean, it was like they were getting pretty loose and fast, like in Iraq. Like, there's a lot of like unnecessary, like we'll just do what we do, and it's like, dude, that guys were getting themselves killed like unnecessarily. You know, it's like, you're like, all right, man. Like if you're doing the right thing, you get killed. It's one thing, but like you rolling up on an IED, opening your door and looking at it, and then it detonates. You're like, that's not like, I'm not even EOD, and I know that's not a good idea.
Yeah,
you know, like they were doing some wild shit.
Yeah. You can only Wild West things so much.
Exactly.
Sometimes you, if doing something that makes you not die is in the book or not in the book, like just do whatever the not die thing is.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll be all right.
That's wild. So then, so then you got rocked, and then that was your last mission.
Yeah. So I was, like not hurt that bad, and just very much able to move around and do stuff. So they were escorting Patrick Hawkins back to the U.S. and our platoon was stood down because we took so many casualties that they were just stood the whole platoon down for a while. They fired it back up for a while, but they were pretty sure that they wouldn't be fired up at all. That's how it was communicated to me, but it was also like basically this had happened, and less than 24 hours later, they were like, do you want to escort Patrick Hawkins' body back? And they wanted one escort per KIA. So there were 3 others who weren't like in our platoon, but they were assigned to those 3. And one was like a master sergeant from CST. So she was like a senior CST that also had known and was friends with Jenny Moreno, lieutenant posthumously promoted to captain. And then Cody Patterson, who was a ranger, his high school like best friend was in a different company. And he's a medic. And he's actually been to Burma with my dad, since then, but, he was a medic in a different company, and him and Cody Patterson's were like they were childhood friends. So he was in country already, and they weren't, like he was able to come back. And then the third was the other guy that was working with the fourth one, Joe Peters, he was, they're just super needed and valuable, and not many of them in country. So he had another ranger volunteered to take him. And so it was just this really incredible and moving and very different military experience. You know, from every angle. You know, nobody checks anything. I could have had like 20 weapons in my duffel bag and nobody would have checked anything.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, that's and not really the focus though. I mean, it's just like, it was just like, but just different, you know. It was so like, everybody is kind of, you know, you really feel like you were guarding something really important. And you are. You can tell though, because I mean that happens when you're on a mission, right? You're guarding living people, which is more important. You know, there's like the sacred kind of thing to it was really apparent, and it was special to feel that, because most of my career, and I like that it's this way, but most of my career, you know, you finish a deployment, you come back. And like, there are no parades, like you can't, it's all, you know, OPSEC stuff. So you just kind of come back and, you know, you're not like this well-reflecting, you know, 29-year-old dude who's like been around for a while, and you're not like sitting down and having your whiskey and saying hi to your dog and hugging your kids. And then, you know, you've got a bunch of like 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, and they kind of come back and they're like, beer, Xbox, I guess, like hang out with my friends who I was just hanging out with just in another country in a stressful situation and all this stuff. So very like kind of low key and secret type stuff. Like if you're married, your wife will be there, maybe a couple parents here and there. But really not much. So kind of having that, and I never wanted that. I like that, you know, it has its upsides, which is like, I don't have to talk to people, which, you know, I just don't want to do anyway, but I definitely don't want to do it right after deployment. I just want to get into my civilian clothes and have beer and, you know, and just relax mainly. But you know, that one, obviously all that stuff had happened, and it was just that difference, you know, everybody cared, everybody helped. It was really not a bad experience. And if something bad happened logistically, a bunch of people came out of the woodwork to help. You know, and that was during the whole government shutdown thing too. So the whole
That's
like
right, I forgot
the
about
whole
that,
payouts, that was one of the big like example stories. And, you know, we had kind of people calling us to ask us for details and stuff. And we had my old team leader was back and out processing during that. So he knew Pat Hawkins, but he wasn't on that deployment. And of course, you know, that was his first deployment of not being there. So that sucks like extra. But he was happy to be the bulldog to keep all those. He was good at it. He was awesome. And I came back and I was glad I did. They did wind up going operational, and that was difficult. I didn't like that. I tried to get back. I was less hurt than pretty much most / all of them, but I couldn't pass a reaction test for TBI. And so they had me stay in the U.S. when I was like, none of those guys will be able to pass that thing. Like, come on, man.
I'm just shocked they gave you a test. They'd be like, yeah, go. Like in my era, they'd be like, yeah, you know.
Well, there was nobody back there. That's the thing. Everybody was there. Everybody was fighting. Everybody was like over there. And like, it was like a ghost town back there. Yeah. There's like a few I broke my ankle Rangers back there, and the guys who are out processing, and like, you know, I literally checked myself in to a hospital because when I was there too, because I got there and a lot of the Rangers, I mean, there was probably better options I could have had that if I would have known about them, but yeah, just kind of, I didn't really know what to do with my whole platoon company, you know, thing gone. So I just checked myself into one when I got back, but yeah, no, the whole escorting him experience was really, really meaningful. And to me, and just to do that with those other 3 people was also really, really special too. Yeah, it was cool.
So then after that, then
cool. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
How long after that then is till you get out?
Like right after, I sprinted my ETS because they were like, I got hurt in October, or that fight was in October. And then I got out by February. So when I got back, they were like, "Are you going to re-enlist?" I was like pretty sure already, but that was definitely like, "Nope, I'm not." And I just, I had enough. I didn't really. I very much would have benefited from staying too, and yeah, but I was good.
Yeah.
I had enough. So I left, and they were like, you can get an early out for college if your semester starts, and the cutoff for the semester for that I wanted to go to at this school was it was like February. I forget. It was it was later in February. It was like February 27 or something, right before the end, and it was right when I could extend that early out for college. So I got a couple months shaved off, and got out and basically sprinted out, which I don't know if that was the healthiest thing, but for me, I got to find out things by going like into them, through them. I can't like just sit and let that saturate. Like taking 6 months to ETS is torture for everybody, but definitely would have been torture for me. So at least I assume it's torture for everybody, but it for sure would be for me. And I just, jumping into the next thing was so helpful for me. And it was college, and the way that I saw it is like your teacher gives you a task, you just do it like you do in Ranger Battalion. And that was a really good mentality to have, because I would dive into my classes and they'd be like, read this book by next week. And instead of having this whole internal mental battle that I would have before about it, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Be like, I don't want to, but I will, because, I do a lot of stuff that I don't want to. But I want the thing at the end of this. I want my degree, or I want to at least keep getting BAH while I figure out exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. But I just I also did it with two of my, so we had a bunch of roommates with Pat Hawkins, and there was like a group of us. So two of them got out at the same time, and we went to San Francisco and lived there for a little bit, because one of them had like roots there. And then we kind of, me and another guy went down to Tampa and lived there for a little bit. And then, so that I really got a good, easy out that way, because I was still living with, I was roommates with two Rangers, and we were just exploring new cities and kind of jumping into new adventure together. So it was way, way better than I think it would have been if I would have gone to a different city, a different college, and not had that. So, and then when we were in Tampa, we kind of plugged into the Ranger community there, and that was really helpful too. So. I don't know that I do that as proactively now. Like if I go to a new city, I'm not really like, always just jumping into all the Ranger things, and necessarily I really like to, and I really like it when I do. But that was like super important for me, especially back then. I really needed that. So yeah, that was good. Kind of made it a smoother transition. And college itself I loved it. I was just a nerd then. I was always ready to be a nerd. I always liked being a nerd, but I struggled with learning, and just doing it a little bit later was really, really good. Yeah.
So would you end up majoring in, or would you go and then major in?
Well, I went to film school for a semester, and then I was like,
which would you go to?
I went to the Academy of Art in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I went there for a semester, and then I did the summer online when I moved to Tampa. So I was really only in San Francisco for like 8 months. It was really expensive, and kind of our reasons for there kind of weren't, they kind of dissolved. So we're like, I don't know, let's just move somewhere random. And we just randomly picked Tampa. And then I finished my degree at USF, and I switched to literature.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to do creative writing, because I was writing all the time already. I wrote on my deployments a lot. I just really liked writing. And I didn't want anybody to tell me how to write exactly. I wanted teaching on my writing, but I didn't want it so much on my creative writing. And I really also just wanted to study like authors from a literature side, because I knew I didn't really need that much help with the film. I did film history classes, were some of the best ones I took at film school.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can get the benefit out of these just by watching all these movies. And so I started watching all of those movies on my own, and I loved it anyway. So I was like, okay, I can switch to literature and get out of both. And there was things I missed out on that. The biggest thing I missed out on is the upper class, like things you get your hands on that you can spend your time, like you can spend your time on high-end cameras, spend your time in functioning teams that work a certain way because they're tried and true, more or less. So I missed out on that stuff. And for the most part, though, I was like, well, I could just learn that on YouTube. A lot of people say that and then they don't learn it on YouTube. That's the thing. Like that's the thing about that. It's like,
That's why I always tell guys, they're like, should I go to film school? I was like, yes, like, but do the technical film school. Like, I agree because you were like, oh, I watched cinema history. I was like, that's what turned me off about USC film school. I was like, I'm not here to learn the theory or like write papers for 2 years. I want to get my hands on a camera. Well, they don't do that till like their senior year. Yeah. I'm like, this is insane. I'm going to pay all this money. Yeah. Whereas like the school I ended up getting my cinematography associates from, I was like, absolutely. I was like 1,000%. Yeah. Because I there's a lot of a lot of people are self-taught in our industry, like media content creation. You know, it's like, it would totally works. They make a living and everything from it. But it's like, for me, I think it's just like, if you want to start out, it's like going to boot camp. Like, you don't have to go to boot camp. The ANA still fight. Yeah. You can still be a good warrior. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can still, but it's like sometimes just getting that baseline of discipline or of the skill, and then go from there.
Yeah, you just have to learn the skill. And the thing is like a lot of the type of person to take cinematography on as a skill, they see it, they're interested in it because they see it as an art. And you have to remember, it's like, yes, that's true, but it is a skill also. Yeah, like, skill. There's so many technical things about that, especially cinematography. It's like, well, it's a skill and art, which is, makes it a craft. You know, it's a craft. And that means you have to have an understanding of both sides of that. Yeah. And so you can't like, it's just like anything in combat. You can't BS your way into knowing it, right? Like, or saying you know it, or get by with not knowing it. Like, either you know it or you don't. And if the situation demands that you know it and you don't know it, then guess what? Like, you're out of luck. And it's not the consequences don't really exist with that. But like, but from a career standpoint, it's like, if you want to be successful, then learn the skill. And if that's through college, or if that's through just absolute sheer repetitions, you know, then do the sheer repetitions if you're more like inclined that way. But man, more people often than not, they think they're that person, but they would just benefit from going to a place where someone taught them the thing. It's like,
and I know that enough depends about myself where I'm like, hey, someone just teach me, you know, like, it's like, I'd rather have somebody teach me for 2 weeks than try to like take the next 6 months doing YouTube. Yeah. Because I'll eventually get it, but it's like, sometimes it's like, hey man, just do this. And you're like, oh, cool. And it like, works. Yeah. You know,
and you don't have, there's like, our life outside of a college context doesn't really have a good like space for learning that stuff. Like, you have to have a job if you're not in college. If you're in college, you're actively paying for a loan, so you're gonna have to have a job to twice over to pay that off. So it's like, you know, you if you don't dedicate that time and space for it, that time and space will have to be dedicated and spread out. And it can probably be more efficient than film school, but it'll be spread out, which means you might be looking at, you know, I'm not at your level with the camera, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I am self-taught. And I've been doing it for over a decade, and you're still better at it than me, and you were better at it than me well before you hit a decade, right? No. Just because you have the talent side of it too, but somebody also just taught it to you, and you listened and paid attention and did it. So
no, I'm like you. That was like amazing. I loved college, or like that official 2 years. Dude,
and I get it. A lot of veterans don't like it. I mean, I kind of used back then. I'd be like, I got a little annoyed. I'd be like, come on, man. Like this is not worth complaining about. Like, yes, I know that there are like young, weird college students with crazy ideas or whatever, but what did you expect? Yeah. Like, that's literally what everyone complains about already. So, you know, it's just how it is. Yeah. Just don't worry about it, and then learn the thing that you came here to learn. And, you know, if I have to learn an elective, then I'm going to pick a cool elective. Like, I want to learn, you know, I did a really good one was ancient Celtic history. It's like, I'm like a ginger, so obviously Irish. So, you know, I learn about that stuff would be cool. And Celtic literature, being a literature major, was very interesting to me. So I was like, rad. And then took like the history of life, which was like a very basic 101 science class, from, you know, planet formation through to like a bunch of stuff about, you know, just like how, you know, through evolution, through like the formation of Earth as we know it today, from the yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, I mostly don't remember, but a lot of really cool stuff, and I just love to learn that kind of thing. And if I'm gonna use my time towards something, I don't like wasting it. So if I have to do it, like really have to do it now. Again, going back to spreadsheets and owning a business now, there's a lot of stuff that I have to do. Like I don't want to understand tax compliance laws in 6 different states, but like I have to do it. So what can I enjoy in something like that? Like that's a tough problem to solve, but for me, problem solving is almost always the thing I can go back to. And I can be like, well, yeah, but when I do a bunch of stuff and I figure it out, especially if I don't understand that context or environment, and I do figure it out successfully, I feel good about that.
That's good.
Whether it's a boring thing or an exciting thing or, whatever else it is that I have to do.
Hell yeah. So how did you end up getting into the field that you're in and then like your own company?
Yeah, I mean, I just round robined in a bunch of different media industries. I mean, I worked professionally writing in a bunch of different ways. I was a part-time copy editor in one like medical journal, I like peer review place. And so that was like an interesting thing for me, not really having been a super big grammar nerd before, but then became one for that job. And, was a professional writer. I published around 600 plus articles. And just wrote a bunch of different things for different journals, and worked in television, very low level kind of broadcast television, producing ads for different businesses. So kind of got into the filmmaking world, which is more what I wanted to get into. Then slowly just got pulled into the world of social media. I had news experience, I had writing experience, I had filmmaking experience, and I had all these kind of like small skills built up, and some of them to pretty high level. Like I could definitely run a camera, especially as like if you want a solo shooter for something. And I could definitely write. I mean, I already published 2 books of poetry and The
Last Marauder.
That one hadn't come out yet.
Oh,
but yeah. But I was writing that. I was writing that already. So, but yeah, I was just had all these different experiences from all these different industries. And then they kind of pull together with social media where you really need a one-man band where you have a guy who can write stuff and you don't have to be kind of a jack of all trades, but master of none situation. So, you don't have to be like crazy good at like everything, but then you also have to learn the social media part of it. And that's like a really new industry, especially, I got into it, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, probably. So newer industry, not totally new even then. But, I wasn't like brand new to it. I had done a lot. I had done stuff professionally for it, but I had never really like owned that as much as I did. And then I got into the whole Black Rifle Coffee arena and worked with them for quite a while and really got an accelerated learning course there. And I came up through their magazine with Marty Scoveland, who's awesome, and kind of worked through Coffee or Die magazine, which he had built, and had joined my news cycle knowledge with my video knowledge and somewhat existing social media knowledge and put it there. And then just learned a lot more through that whole experience. And by the time I left, I was a director of social media there, and I left. Was there like a couple years pre-IPO, a couple years post-IPO. So just, big kind of landscape changes and just seeing like all these different, it was a big business to start and it was a big business when I left it. So, but still a lot of change and a lot of different things that you learn from that. And then also just like having they were like a talent magnet, especially that middle level crew. I mean, the people you work just with the cameramen that they like get, it's just incredible. These cinematographers or videographers or whatever you call them, like they're awesome. And, you have all these sorts of different incredible creators. And that was my favorite part, was just meeting those kind of behind the scenes people and working with them. And it's just so cool. Guys like Caleb Chamberlain and people like that, like just really, really fun to work with. In you, but I wouldn't say that to your face. Yeah, no, that was absolutely not a good experience. But just so working with great people like that, but also on the marketing side and seeing like the director of marketing or different marketing manager level people And just having the opportunity in the way that I do is just asking them so many questions. I just ask a lot of questions. Excuse me. I really like knowing how things work. And especially when I was a ranger, I liked, I really bought into the idea that if you're I forget the phrase. It's like, you should know your job and the job above you. Right. Mm-hmm. So if the guy above you gets shot or whatever, and we all went to like mini schools to cross train for different, competencies that, be like, oh, you're the designated marksman in case the sniper goes down, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you got all you, and in order to do that effectively, I had a couple of squad leaders and team leaders that really explained to me well that like, you really got to not just know those positions, you have to know the context in which everything's working. Like you got to know what this entire platoon is doing. And how much I really did that when I was, a 21-year-old ranger, I don't know, but how much I really understood all that context, but still carrying that philosophy on now. And I get into I'm a social media manager in some place, and I know a lot about production and, writing and all the creative stuff. And I know a lot about how to apply that to business too, but I don't understand how emails and websites and paid ads make money. I don't even understand how social media can make money. So, and not only that, I don't even really interesting to me is how does this function in a greater machine? That's my problem solving brain kind of going off. Mm-hmm. Where does all this stuff go? And I just have no idea. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable maneuvering if I don't even understand the machine that's around me. So I just start making friends with these people and ask them questions because, they're passionate about it. They do it every day. The email guy's like, yeah, I can show you. I can tell you what all these acronyms mean, like what is an open rate like, and why is it important that it goes up? Like, I know we want more people clicking, but how do you do that? How do you test that? Like, what's testing? What's A/B testing? Like, these basic ones up to more complex strategies about how does a top of funnel tool like social media funnel traffic into like making money into something like a paid media or email campaign, and then going down the funnel and yada yada yada, and upping your conversion rate and all these like marketing things that have all these fancy terms. I'm like, I don't understand any of this stupid stuff. Like, somebody explain it to me, and they all did. So actually people don't mind at all. And they are a little bit, if you're embarrassed about asking, that's the weird part. It's not the fact that you're asking, and so, I just got comfortable with that and learned a lot in that environment. And when I left, I left because I was like, I want to start my own company, and I did. And I still, despite all that, I knew social media and kind of content, like high-end content, were my kind of bread and butter. And so I started with those kind of things on the table, especially editing stuff. But we had some other capabilities too. So I started with that. I didn't have any investment money. I didn't start with really anything except for just like, I'm going to start a company and let's go. And I put $600 into the company bank account and was like, here we go. Let's do this. And I just came up with systems where things can make money and pay for themselves, basically. So I don't know a lot about business, but I do know more money is more good. So I was like, okay, that's a good business plan. And if I can make that money number go up, then I'm going to be more happy with this business. Mm-hmm. So, which, that gets like not necessarily true after a certain point, but, and faster than people think, but it's just like, it's these, and that really helped me that actually, I wouldn't say not knowing something has never helped me. Ignorance has never helped me at all. The more knowledge I have, the more stupid business knowledge that I have, these like mechanisms that are like all these intricate pieces, the more of that I have, the better off I am. And that goes with anything that I'm trying to do. Knowledge, more knowledge, more better as well. But I will say that an incidental advantage that I had coming at the kind of entrepreneurial world or the business world as an outsider was that I wasn't really, and I think this isn't uncommon. I think this is pretty common. I wasn't bogged down by all the missing the forest for the trees. It's the epitome of it. And you see it all the time. It's like stupid decisions that are not more money, more better. You're spending, this is a very reduced and not totally accurate example, but it's a good example. It's like you're spending 8 hours in a whole day figuring out how to save money on one subscription being like, we could reduce this subscription if we just like see the laws. It says like if we do this and this and this and this, then we can reduce it from $20 to $15, right? And you spend all day doing it. You just literally spent your time and headcount money more than you're going to save by a long shot, you know, just trying to figure that out. And it's a lot of like silly little things like that. And that sounds ridiculous. And why would you do that? Happens all the time. And it's just efficiencies like that, inefficiencies like that, common sense stuff, like people in positions of power, when you start to have employees and start to get extra revenue generated, jumping on higher salaries as soon as possible, things like that. It's just like, you know, there's such a lack of common sense even at a leadership level with a lot of companies that, and it's not always some big, you know, personal deficiency. Sometimes, you know, some people just don't know stuff too. But I was put in a position, one, where I was in an industry that I could pay for itself. Like I can have contractors kind of like coming in and taking on accounts, and then, you know, they're on this signature employee track to then flip to be a W-2 employee. That's like a dream for a lot of guys in our world, because you're already contracting all the time. All I'm giving you is a stable one. And it's like, oh, cool, stable money, finally. And then it's like, oh, more stable money. Oh, more stable money. And then it's like, now. So for some people, it's a nightmare because they're like, I just want a job now. But if you're already going contract to contract, it's like, it's good. So I found, and I had met so many people over my years of media. I knew all the rock stars. I was like, oh, cool. Like I know all these guys. This is gonna be fun. And so I hired a bunch of them. Over the time, I did that and rinsed and repeated it, and I couldn't afford all of them, you know, like, and still can't. But you know, I working on it, and it's been good. And every CEO kind of gushes about it, basically, like employees, you know, as good as their employee, and companies only as good as their employees, and all this stuff. But like, when you have like a really good crew, like it's cool. Like it's cool because you got guys who know what they're doing. I love like independent, responsible people who are like, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, if you could just like do this and, you know, XYZ thing extra, and when they're like, oh yeah, like, no, I figured we'd have to do that, so I already did it, and I also did 10 other things, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I'd be like, dang, I got to keep up with these guys. You know, and that's like one thing that I will give myself credit for is just that I'm good at hiring, and that's like the main thing, and the rest is just problem solving, and I can problem solve my own idiotic mistakes as long as it doesn't get anybody fired, you know. It's like whatever, I can just figure it out. And
that's the tough thing. I mean, it's like being creative and building your business, like that's always tough for creatives.
I couldn't have done it if I wasn't a ranger, I don't think, or wasn't in the military. I don't know. I just like, I needed to know that like I don't think every veteran learns this lesson. I think they learn it in combat, but you know, there's a lot of lessons that you can learn in the military that you don't apply to your life. And one is just that, like, hey, doing stuff you don't like in order to accomplish a greater mission. Guys say that now. A lot of veterans will say that now, and they're trying to get people to go out and work out or like go on a ruck or something, right? And they're right. People should do that. People should get out of their comfort zones. That's not outside of your comfort zone if you do that all the time and you're comfortable doing that. That doesn't count then. But maybe opening up emotionally to your wife counts. Like, what's your comfort zone? You know what I mean? Like, go outside of that. And a lot of times it's like sitting down with a bunch of 19-year-old, like, you know, college students that have totally different beliefs than you, and just not worrying about them and doing what you're there to do anyway. And just, you know, like learning what you got to learn, or don't be there. You know what I mean? Like, and it's, I know why it's tough for people, and there's merit to that, but, for sure. But I don't know. You just gotta kind of look at it like at face value like that.
No, I agree. I think the thing too is like, what's your next goal, and how are you going to work for it? You know, like
what's practical
steps? Because like you have the big stuff in your head. Like I still do. And probably till the day I die. But it's going to be like, all right, I want to make movies. Okay, well, what do you? And there's kind of those things where like, what am I doing now today at this job I just got? You know, because I just got hired on to Vet TV. It's like, okay, where there may be better opportunities out there depending on the short term, but what's the long term? You know, what's, you know, that's where I go. Is it better to stay as a contractor or do I take the W-2? You know, like obviously my wife loves it because of the stability, but it's also like, what does this work? You know, is this going hand in hand? Also have the podcast. Are you willing to spend the extra up till midnight doing the clips you need to do? You kind of like, but it's like you're running out of time.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, now my bandwidth's, dude, you better be real proficient. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yep, I got to stay up till 11 tonight.
And you and I even already have an advantage in that we know what we want to even do.
Yeah.
So like if you're running around college, I'd be way more frustrating for me if I was having to deal with people that were annoying. And I wasn't really annoyed by people, but like just assuming that I was, like, I would be running around doing that without having like this goal, without having an objective of like, I want to be a doctor or a filmmaker or a business person, at least, like even just getting an MBA or something. Like having some goal is so much more helpful because then you know what you're sacrificing your time for, at least, even if it doesn't work. It's like, you know, but if you're, so I don't know, it helps to be decisive in a long-term way like that in order to help your own short-term, because then you can be like, hey, I don't know what I want to do with this degree or this certificate, or or college isn't right for me, which I think is great for many industries. And ours is certainly one that you can do without it. It's, you know, more difficult than people will give it credit for if you don't, but depending on what you want to do exactly. But it's like you can absolutely do it, but you know, you have to have that as a goal in order to withstand whatever stupid things you have to do along the way, and things that are really not comfortable for you, which for me would include like really deep tax finance stuff. For me is like, you know, it's just not my forte. And you know, but even if or even as I am hiring people to do that stuff at a higher competency than me, which is a low bar, you know, I still have to speak that language if I want to be better at telling them how I want things. Yeah. So like, do I want to do what I want to do? Like, I just have to then look in the mirror and be like, just answer. It's a yes or no question. It's like, do I really want that? And if the answer is still yes, all right, then, you know, do the thing, get good at spreadsheets, understand Idaho's tax compliance laws, which I know. Well, enough anyway. And Wisconsin and Illinois and Kansas and Maryland and many others. So.
Yeah. Well, and I 100% agree with you. You know, it's like, especially as we get older, like your time, you don't have much time to burn. So for me, it's like getting more calculated with like, where is my effort going? Like, I would love to play some Xbox, and there's nothing wrong with playing Xbox every once in a while, but like, if I'm like, a guy's like, you should play, I was like, honestly, I'm trying to get the podcast is still going. I mean, I'm not even a year in yet, you know, getting those lined up, sacrificing time and money and marketing, you know, like that's a whole thing in itself. And then it's like, now I'm still trying to do pitch decks, which don't even exist right now, of ideas in my head that I think are worthy of putting time into, and then putting concepts forward. If someone was ever going to give me money to make one of these things, and then you got to be like, okay, it's like thinking 5 steps ahead. Yeah. If you win that lottery, if someone's like, let's do this. Yes, we have the connection. Yes, we can get $2 million.
Yeah, right.
Yes, let's get it made.
Yeah.
Let's put it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's just a whole nother.
What's that quote though? I'm not gonna know it, but I don't even know it enough to butcher it. Something about like luck and opportunity lining up.
Is it like the luck is skill and experience or something like that?
Something like that. But it's just like luck. You line up as much as you can in order to make things be in your favor. So when the opportunity does come, when the luck does hit, you have all of you're locked and loaded and ready to go already. And it'll just, you'll increase your chances. You can still always just turn around a corner and get shot in the face, but there's not much you can do about that anyway. So
right.
Just don't worry about it. And if you do, then don't worry about it anyway. So.
Well, that's a good one to end on.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, where can people find you? Where can they hire you at? Where can you make more money as Four Hawk Media?
So fourhawkmedia.com, but we're a media marketing agency, and we started, we run organic social medias as, our bread and butter, and we grow a lot of channels that way, little ones from 0 to big ones, 1 million followers, everywhere in between, and making big bottom line differences and stuff. I will say I know how to connect social media from a business side all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I am not going to explain it to you here unless you have 2 hours, but another 2 hours. But yeah, so anyways, there's that. And then content. I mean, just building the machine to support that content has been insane. And so we have these insanely talented content creators that can do anything from, oh, we want organic cell phone content to like, we need some actual like cinematography and professional, very high level photography, be it product or lifestyle. We just getting into that whole world has been cool, especially in different industries, which has been fun with an agency. But so yeah, content, social media, we do like website, e-commerce type stuff. So from the, how it looks to how it functions to improving stuff, to paid ads on Meta and Google. So, you know, pushing products and for nonprofits, donations, stuff like that. And email and, you know, email campaigns, the e-com side of that too, and design for that. So, a lot of your digital e-commerce world stuff and plugging all that in and just taking clients and, got 13 employees at the time of this interview anyway. And, yeah, we're growing fast. Been a couple years now, so, not too bad, but, yeah, forhawkmedia.com and, yeah, my social is Les Ginger Rob, so like Les Miserables, but the ginger version. So
I saw that the first time. I was like, Les Gribbles? What's good?
Les Gingerbles? Yeah.
I was like, okay. Yeah,
That's the American pronunciation.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then you told me, I was like, oh, that makes way more sense. I was like, I don't know where you go with this one.
When I was growing up, we used to fly between Pakistan and the U.S., and a lot of times planes didn't go quite as far back then. They would stop in England, and every time we would go through England, we would watch Les Miserables. So, and you know, I've read it through once, but one of my favorites for many reasons, but that's one of them.
Yeah. All right, bro. Yeah. All right, well, man. Socials, I'd say Les Miserables and
Les Ginger Rob.
Les Ginger Rob, yeah. And books. Yeah, I know you got books. You've written books.
The First Marauder, post-apocalyptic book, and then 2 books of war poetry. But they're under Luke Ryan. You can find them on Amazon or wherever else there are books.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, bro.
Yeah. Thanks, man.